Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call to order a Town of Superior Board of Trustees and the Superior Metropolitan District No. 1 Board of Directors and the Superior McCaslin Interchange Metropolitan District Board of Directors and the Superior Urban Renewal Authority Board of Commissioners for January 13th, 2014. Phyllis, if you'd call the roll.
Mayor Andrew Muckle.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Joe Cirelli.
Here.
Trustees Elia Gagoris.
Here.
Chris Hansen.
Here.
Sandy Kennington. Lisa Skumats. Deborah Williams. Here. Town Manager Matt Magny.
Here.
Town Attorney Kendra Carberry. Here. Town Clerk Colson.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
I just had a question. I don't know if it's worthy of polling 7K, but I had a question about the fourth whereas, and it was a little unclear to me. If I can just ask the question, or should we just poll it and just discuss it?
Probably, in case something might have to change, I guess I would.
Okay. Yeah, so 7K poll.
Okay. Any other changes? Seeing none, I'll entertain the motion to approve the agenda with that change. Trustee Cirelli, second by Trustee Williams. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Brings us to item number 4, reports, questions, and issues. Trustee Hansen.
Sure. Yeah. Happy New Year to everybody. Good to be back. It seems like it's been forever. Let's see. First, I wanted to see if we had an update, or maybe it's something we'll discuss when we do the retreat. But the last meeting we mentioned the road work options in front of Superior Elementary School, and that we'd be talking about it at some point. So is that something we'll do at the retreat, or is there any direction on that yet?
No. What we'll do, Alex and myself, is we'll talk about options, and then we'll schedule a work session with the board so you can see what we're thinking about. And I think it's better to do a work session for that particular item.
Okay, good. And then I got in the mail today from National Renewable Energy Laboratory a notice of availability of a draft environmental assessment to analyze and describe the potential environmental impacts associated with the proposed action. So I'm wondering if this is something that we can put a link on the website.
Sure.
And residents can go to it instead of having to navigate to this.
Yeah, unless you want to keep that, if you want to just give it to Phyllis, and then we'll make sure we get that on the website.
Yeah, that's fine. And then lastly, just wanted to thank Superior Troop 278, the Boy Scout Troop, and Troop 575 from Louisville for their excellent job at Christmas tree removal this year. It is a fundraiser for them, but it also does a great service, I think, for the town, and they removed, I think, just over 300 Christmas trees. And Kathy Packard, who headed it up and organized on our end here in Superior, just did a phenomenal job. It was extremely organized. George Kupner with Superior Salvage did a great job in getting the bins there. The whole project went really smoothly. It was good. So thank you to everybody. And that's it.
Great. Trustee Cirelli.
Let me see. 2 things. First, I don't know if everybody saw it, but I sent an email this morning indicating I needed support replacement for Friday's Historical Commission meeting. It's from 10 to 12 here. The only response I got was from Lisa, who said she could do it for the first hour from 10 to 11. So if nobody else can do that, that's better than nothing. But so I'm assuming,
I can't do it.
it's a morning, so some of you working people will probably have a problem with it. But so I'll tell Lisa she's on when I see her, or send her an email.
I might be able to do the second hour. I have to check my schedule.
That would be 11 to 12, and that would be in here.
Okay.
Secondly, I attended a U.S. 36 Mayors and Commissioners meeting on January 9th. That was last Tuesday. And in the mayor's place, because he promised he'd never miss any meetings, and yet there I was. The purpose of the meeting primarily was to go over, start preparing for our agenda on the Mayors and Commissioners trip to Washington, D.C. to see our delegation, congressional delegation. That would be at the end of February. And a couple of other issues that are still being kicked around were communicating with RTD about what kind of vehicle we're going to they're going to try to procure for the bus rapid transit. It's looking like it's going to be very similar to the express buses that are used right now, with perhaps a potential adaptation down the road of adding a back door. That's the way it's looking, because the procurement's going out very soon.
So what was the point of luring us in with all these, beautiful BRT buses?
Empty promises.
Unbelievable.
Well, one could think that, anyway, we are not giving up the ghost on that, but we're not going to get it it seems clear we're not going to have it by opening day. Anyway.
Just along those lines, so they have RTDs, I think it's a subcommittee of the board is meeting tomorrow to recommend procurement of 26 buses for BRT. I'm actually going to go down there with Elise Jones from Boulder County and speak about that to see if they would delay that decision. So it does seem like they say they were open to public comment and all opportunities. I think it's pretty clear that they have made their decision already.
Yeah, and part of it is they don't believe there's an adequate bus that exists to do what we would like a bus rapid transit to do. So
it was a little disappointing because I think they've talked themselves into the idea that there isn't an adequate bus, and thus they didn't look for any buses.
yeah,
But
we have not given up the battle, though. Another thing that's going on, and I don't know where it stands, but if you've heard of Impact 64, it's a potential ballot issue to have a sales tax initiative for road tax, for road repairs and maintenance. And they were doing polling to see if the potential for whether it would make sense to go out with the ballot initiative or not. And that's imminent on what the results of the polling are. I don't know what the results are. But there's anybody who attended the meeting, the legislative breakfast earlier in January, was made pretty clear that we have a pretty strong shortfall in highway funds coming up in the immediate future if we don't have some other source of remedy. And Impact 64, that initiative was possibly the only source of potential revenue. So don't know what happens after that. The next MCC meeting would be February 6th here in Town Hall, and I'm ready and willing to go to that. So
thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. Welcome, trustees. Come on.
Sorry.
welcome.
I fell asleep on my couch when my husband came home. He said, "Where's for the meeting?"
You must have put the board back and sat down on the couch.
I did. It was stupid. Yeah, sorry about that.
Are you ready to do our reports, or would you like us to circle back to you?
Why don't you come back to me? Thank you
Okay.
for asking.
Actually, I don't have much else to add to what people have discussed, and so Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a good holiday season. Trustee Williams.
So I attended a Dr. Cog meeting, which is a Denver Regional Council of Governments down in Denver. And we didn't have much on the agenda, but the one thing that, was interesting to me was the policy for telephone participation for the board there. And we posed many different motions, including myself, and they all failed. And so they basically just tabled it for some other time. So it did not pass. Apparently, no one has an appetite for how that is going to be run and how you will count towards participation without a visual. Like, you can see what I'm doing and you kind of know that I'm having a fairly good time up here. But you don't know what's happening to someone on the phone. And so you just, that interplay is something they're just not comfortable with. And so also, Dr. Cog has canceled their January meeting because of lack of agenda items. However, they do have a board retreat coming up in February. That's in Colorado Springs, and it's overnight. And I guess I'm going to go. If anyone else wants to go, let me know.
What's the date?
Let's see. The date is February 21st and 22nd. And it's the Cheyenne Mountain Hotel and Resort. It's usually a very, very good meeting.
It's not the Broadmoor, but it's close.
It's pretty close to the Broadmoor, yeah, it's really nice. Their board workshops, the retreats are amazing, very organized, and you learn a lot, and you meet with a lot of different city council members, mayors, commissioners in the whole metro area. So if anyone wants to come with me, let me know. I also had a First Fridays that I held at Starbucks. It's the first Friday of the month at Starbucks at 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning, and my topic was the transportation plan. And so I had a few people come by and want copies of the transportation plan and had lots of different questions. So I'm actually surprised those folks aren't here today, but that's okay. Well, one of them is. I take that back. Anyhow, we'll see what happens with that. It's just a vision, and so assuming we're not fully passing that today, or we're just, I mean, it's obviously a vision, so it's not set in stone. And I also attended a US 36 Commuting Solutions Legislative Breakfast. That was good. Joe Cirilli attended as well, and our Assistant Town Manager did. And it was a good meeting, and RTD was there, and that was the first time I had heard about the BRT buses, and I was a little upset about that, so.
What upset me the most was their reference to the magic bus
Oh, yeah.
that didn't exist.
No, they were selling BRT as a glorified train, but it's not. And they were obviously bringing out these buses that looked beautiful and train-like and would make you want to ride them, and now it's a bait and switch.
Well, didn't they suggest doing those really nice buses because they weren't doing the train this far up?
Yes,
That was,
that was one of the things.
Well, that was part of what they called...
we can't do the train right now, so we're going to do these really nice buses
Right,
instead.
here's your consolation prize. And they were basically calling it true BRT in the fact that you stand on a platform and you enter this luxurious bus by not even stepping up, you're just stepping straight onto what looks like a train platform or a train that you're arriving at. But anyway, oh well, moving on.
Well, Happy New Year, everyone. It seems like it's been a while since I've been here. I guess you guys were busy while I was gone. That's what I hear. Did a lot of great work. Speaking of the town center, I've spoken to Matt already about this. I don't know how you guys feel. For me, it would be great if we have an opportunity, maybe during a work session, or maybe meet at 5 o'clock before the sun goes down. I really want to walk the land, like to physically see exactly where these buildings are going to go, just to get I mean, the computer animation and the PowerPoint presentations and all that are good, but there's something about actually walking it. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I would like to do
That would be a
it.
good idea.
Maybe we could ask somebody from Ranch Capital if they'd be willing to set something up.
Part of it is getting the feel for
Yeah, get the feel of it.
where the
yeah,
floodplain
right.
things are versus
Yeah.
where the actual buildings are going to be.
Is
Because
that something you would recommend on a weekend, like Saturday morning maybe?
Whenever it works for the board or with Mass Capital or with the town staff, it's...
I suggest a bike ride through it. That is far more interesting.
I'm up for a bike ride
You
too,
could do the
whatever
bike
the board...
ride, and Ilya could drive like the dump truck or something like that.
Chris can take an e-vehicle.
Much more than
All right.
But it would be,
So if
there's
you
something
could,
about physically being there. That's,
So if town staff can work with Branch about setting something up, that would be great. Thanks.
the second thing is something that I observed today, so around the time the school was out, maybe 2:45, 3 o'clock, on 88, south of the bridge, so it was clearly within Superior boundaries, there was a truck that was parked, kind of heading south, taking down some limbs, or is that something that the town owns, or is that an independent private? Cutting some trees down?
Our truck would have the logo on the side of it, so if it didn't have that, then it would be a...
Well, honestly, I didn't notice that. What I did notice is that they were taking the entire, because it's really one lane, right?
Yeah.
And there was nobody directing traffic, so what you had is you had cars going from Superior, let's say, towards Louisville, and there were other cars coming that were edging out to see if anybody else was coming, and there was nobody directing traffic. It was really scary. So I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
But usually you should have somebody in an orange, orange cones, or have some that say stop, come this way, 10 cars, stop, bring this car.
Yeah, Roy, if the work is blocking one lane, then they need to have traffic control.
I know, but they had nobody. In the end, it was really peak traffic because people are going to pick up their kids from Monarch. So I don't know how that happened. It's very unusual. But it was not a pleasant experience.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go out tomorrow and see what's going on.
Okay, that's all I have.
Trustee Skumatz.
Thanks for the breather there. Let's see, on the 28th of December, I was pleased to present awards to the running club, the community's running club, and they had, we had given a Kindle, and there were also certificates from Sports Authority and Whole Foods and Training Peaks, a certificate as well. And the winners were Emily Deardorff, James Ramirez, Karen Drovich, Dan Kramer, and Rachel Bray, who won certificates. And the certificates were for good attendance, not for winning, which I think, to me, that's the important thing, showing up regularly and all that sort of thing. They meet Saturdays at 8 a.m. at either Panera, Starbucks, or Safeway Park, and they rotate through that. They meet every Saturday, and they'd be very happy to have more people be part of that. Periodically they have this challenge, and that's what this was. And it was nine times, and they had I think more than 15 people show up 9 times, and had a drawing besides for a lottery of $75. 15 people were eligible for that, and 1 person won that one. They had a second grader who was also had either perfect or very near perfect attendance as well, and it seems to be quite a great group. We had a coffee buzz as well, and the main topics at the coffee buzz were the parkway, housing values, and rugby.
Rugby.
I think those are the main things.
Rugby?
You heard of that sport?
That's interesting.
All right, very good. Town manager?
Thank you. Happy New Year. The RTD board elected its new executive board, and former Louisville Mayor Chuck Sisk is now the RTD chair of the board, which I think he's been on the board less than a year, so he moved up quickly.
I'm not surprised, though.
No, I'm not either. Construction on the interchange is going to start heating up this month. So Alex and the contractor and CDOT will be meeting with the businesses of Superior Plaza, which have the most impact. And then Alex has been reaching out to other businesses in town just to give them an education on what's happening there and see if they have any questions. So I think they've got construction sign out, letting people know hours and other information. So.
Is there a way to, I guess I haven't been there recently, but to put temporary signage for the most impacted businesses about how to get there?
the right space?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can do something like that, yeah. It's, yeah, I'll speak to Alex and we can coordinate with CDOT.
Okay.
On that.
Are we going to send out an e-blast kind of stating the beginning of the construction of the
Yeah,
DDI?
Alex has been working with the city of Louisville staff over there about an education
Okay.
campaign, just letting people know what's coming and what to expect and that type of stuff. So that'll be rolling out over the next month or two as well, so.
We should let them know that this is the first one in Colorado. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is
It's a
big.
really big deal.
Yep. So
Second
Second
one?
one.
Oh, Grand Junction, that's right. yeah.
But they haven't built theirs yet, right? It's built? How did that happen? I thought we were the first.
We're going to do best.
Ours will be superior to theirs, so.
We were talking about ours way before they were talking about theirs, right?
The Snowbusters volunteer program, we're still looking for some volunteers to match up with those that have asked for assistance. So just want to put that out there in case anybody's listening and wants to help out. They can contact Town Hall and we can match them up. We'll also continue to send out e-blasts asking for people's assistance. The next Engage Superior Community Meeting, Barnes got set up for February 6th here at Town Hall, starting at 6:30. There's more information on the website as far as that meeting. And let's see, I think that was it. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? On the staging of the construction for the Superior Town Center, where is that going to be located?
For the town center?
Correct.
It's going to be in and around the temporary parking lot. There's two spots. They've got one at the end of Discovery Parkway,
Okay,
right? That's where the construction trailer and stuff is, so there'll be some staging there.
right.
And then at the temporary parking lot in that area.
And when you say temporary parking lot, which one are you referring to?
The 80 stall lot that was shown on the plans, on the FDP.
It would be in that location?
Yeah.
So that
Because
is...
that's where the construction trucks, they'll have that temporary access road, and they'll use that.
Okay.
So,
And that's down further in the valley, not up on the hill, correct, as you walk down that hill?
yeah.
And so my only concern is I just want to make sure that we are not imposing on those residents that live, that back up to, what's the name of?
Weekends?
Well, I'm just thinking of the name of that property.
Yeah.
What was that?
The park-
Spicer, there we go. That all the residents that back up all the way across, all the different communities there, the Waterford and Carville and whatnot, that they're not impacted by that. So I just want to make sure that they're not having to look at an eyesore or be encumbered by the noise or whatever. So if there's any way that we can, lessen that or completely use not the, I think
Discovery's too
Discovery
close.
is awful close. I think
Discovery
what
is
they
the
originally
closest.
were planning was this temporary parking lot that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Currently, a bunch of heavy vehicles sitting on top of, just right beyond Discovery right now.
Right, and
I
they
know,
don't have the lot, it's not,
I mean, I realize, construction is construction, and you're going to have to endure that, but if there's a way that we can mitigate that and lessen the impacts of it to those residents, could we do that?
We're looking for immaculate construction.
we'll,
Nice.
Good one.
we'll talk to them and see what we can do.
Okay.
All right, town attorney,
Nothing, thank you.
town clerk. All right, thanks. That brings us to public comment on consent agenda and non-agenda items.
Well, actually, there is one thing, I think, I'm surprised Phyllis didn't bring it up, the retreat, the board retreat, are we going to get some dates?
We need to
New dates.
New
need to
dates.
reschedule.
That's the point.
want me to come up with some dates? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, that's what I'm asking
Can
you.
I, one other thing, if we just,
Sooner rather than later.
there's going to be some public meetings going over the the NAMS, whatever that stands for, study that's,
Northwest Area Mobility Study.
yeah. So there's 2 or 3 public meetings coming up, and I don't know the schedule for those.
And 2 out of the 3 are scheduled at the time that we have our meetings.
So
So
if,
good luck going.
Matt, if you could see if
I think
they're
we have those
published.
on our website, but I'll double check, yeah.
I just saw Trustee Skumatz's email today about the sooner the better for our board retreat. It's so hard to get all 7 of us together, so
Yeah, if you want to do it prior to a meeting, like we were
Like we
planning.
did at
to
4
do-
o'clock, can we do that on the 27th?
I am out of the country that week, so.
Oh.
well then.
So, but we could do February 10th or the 24th. So I'll have Phyllis send that
If
out.
everybody's here on the 10th, let's do it then. Before that'd be good.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Sooner's the best.
We'll just confirm with Sandy.
Okay.
So the NAMS is Wednesday in Westminster, the 15th, 5:30. Boulder, Thursday, the 16th at 5:30 at Rembrandt Yard, I'm not sure where that is. And Longmont on January 27th at 5:30.
Okay, one's a Monday. The Wednesday I'm thinking was Dr. Cog, so.
Okay.
Is anyone going to be able to go?
I'm not sure.
I am part of the policy committee, so this is,
You'll be there.
no, I mean, I attend the other meetings that are, these are public outreach
I
meetings.
know.
Yeah, so.
Sorry, George, go ahead.
George Cutler, Superior. Good evening, Board. Happy New Year's to you.
You too.
And Phyllis, you're not counting this 5 minutes on this, but you're adding 5 minutes to me, okay?
We're out of time, George.
I come to talk about 7K. Did anybody pull that off the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to talk about it now, because I'm not going to stay the whole meeting. If you don't mind, Mayor.
That's fine, although it won't take too long to get there, because it's
I see
coming up shortly.
exclude 80-acre parcel over here, the BLM kick, from the district, the bridge district, or whatever you want to call it. It's very metropolitan. I picked my packet up Friday at 4:30, 4:45, and I had time to look at Saturday, I looked at it Sunday. And kind of hard for me to digest of what you people are trying to do already, that quick. I haven't got all the answers yet of what I want. I see no figures in there, how much the town will lose by eliminating this from the district. I see no figures in there what the town expects to pay for a roundabout and maintenance of the roads and whatever they have to do down there. This was rushed through in 2000 for an income for that bridge project. Now, what are we going to do about the people that's already paid into it over the years, such as Freedom Marketplace, Wheaton, Bank up there, or anybody within a quarter of a mile of this McCaslin Boulevard and future McCaslin? And here we're eliminating property already from it? I don't understand.
So I guess might have to stay tuned to the,
You have to talk louder, man.
you have to stay tuned, I guess, to the discussion of the item. So I don't think we can discuss the item right
Well,
at the
I-
moment. It shouldn't take very long to get there.
5
You know,
minutes.
I think the other part of it,
That's not
more.
the chamber.
Really, it's a lot to chew right there, and Sunday, to me, until Monday, is not enough to chew.
Can you stay 5 minutes?
I'm done right now, but I can't hear, so I just will not stand up if I can't hear the mayor.
Could you stay for 5 more minutes to discuss this when we get to Kate? Okay, thank you.
Okay, additional public comment?
Jim Payne, Superior, Chair of the Parks Rec Open Space and Trails Advisory Committee. Good evening. If I could just add to Manager Magley's comment about the upcoming Engage Superior meeting. That's a community engagement meeting on February 6th in this room from 6:30 to 8:30, and that's the first of our public community engagement sessions on Town Center. And we posed the question, what would you like to see included in the civic space dedicated to the town as part of the Superior Town Center Development Project? And it'll be interactive, we'll have large maps, residents and citizens will be able to do what they did on some of the other engagement projects we've had recently, is put fields and different kinds of amenities and so forth and see how they fit. So I just wanted to add that additional information, and there will be a second meeting, which we're trying to schedule now very shortly, within the next 10 days after that meeting. So I encourage you all to attend. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Additional public comment? Seeing none, that brings us to the presentations from the Chamber. And welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and as well, hope everyone has had a nice break. 2 items from the Chamber. I'm Heather Craycraft with the Superior Chamber of Commerce. Wanted to give you a final report on our Superior Resident Relief Fund that you allowed us to be the champions of, and was happy to report that we had 5 applicants to basically request. Our funding was a total of $3,350. Obviously, with the funding that the seed money that you gave the Chamber to get it started at $2,500, we had 4 residents with the miscellaneous donations and then matching funds from the Summit Bank and Trust and Superior Liquor. So I wanted to give you that report and include a note that was obviously addressed, Dear Heather, Superior Chamber of Commerce members, and all the members of Town Council. Please accept my heartfelt thanks for your generosity and the award you sent to assist with intermediate term unmet needs, resulting from the September 12th and 13th flood here in our town. All of us affected continue to cope and move forward from the damage. It is especially gratifying to know that people and organizational groups understand the devastation and want to be there in offering care and support. So I wanted to make sure you heard that, and on behalf of the Chamber, we appreciate the opportunity to work with some community members as well. So that's that project. Secondly, and very excitingly, the Chamber has hired a new assistant director. Her name is Kari Johnson. She happens to be in the crowd. And just wanted to let you guys know that she is the new assistant director. She will be in communication with the members as well as the community, and obviously taking any roles that I can hand over to her. So we are, the 2 of us, obviously very busy with renewals at this point, with the members of 185 right now, and in production of putting together the new directory. So anyone that's listening that has any questions for the Chamber, we'd be happy to answer them at this time, or if any of you do, now is the time to produce the directory.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that brings to item number 7, consent agenda, and remaining on the consent agenda is approval of the minutes of the November 12th, 2013, and the November 25th, 2013 Board of Trustees meeting, acceptance of the meeting notes for the Open Space Advisory Committee and the Parks, Recreation, Open Space and Trails Advisory Committee, adoption of resolutions regarding public posting locations for the town, Superior Urban Renewal Authority, Superior McCaslin Interchange Metropolitan District, and the Superior Metropolitan District Number 1. Adoption of a resolution making appointments to the Rocky Flat Stewardship Council, approval of a liquor license renewal for the Safeway store, adoption of a resolution approving a construction contract with Colorado Electric and Power Systems for installation of an emergency generator for Town Hall, adoption of a resolution approving a professional services agreement with J&T Consulting, Inc. for civil engineering services, adoption of a resolution approving an hourly services agreement with Superior Maintenance and Superior Maintenance for maintenance and repair services for 2014, approval of a purchase of a fleet vehicle for the Public Works and Utilities Department, adoption of a resolution approving an agreement with Quality Water Biosystems, Inc. for annual pond maintenance services. And I believe that's it, yes. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Trustee Skumat, second by Trustee Sorelli. Discussion. Phyllis?
Michael?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Sorelli?
Yes.
Skumat?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Gregorus?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So that brings us to what was an adoption of resolutions for the Town of Superior and the Superior-McCaslin Interchange Metropolitan District approving town center exclusion from the Superior-McCaslin Interchange Metropolitan District. Mr. Mangley? Or Trustee Hanson, if you want, actually.
Ask
Probably
a
would
question,
be-
or do we want to have Matt?
Yeah, actually, so normally I'd just have you ask the question, but given the questions that have come up, perhaps you could give us a little thumbnail of what this is.
Sure. Give a little background to this district. The Superior-McCaslin Interchange Metropolitan District was formed in 2000 for the purpose of financing the construction of improvements to the interchange at US 36, Highway 36 and McCaslin Boulevard, and for the purpose of operating and maintaining the landscaping, roads, traffic signals, streetlights, and other improvements within and adjacent to the district. In 2003, the commercial properties included were Discovery Office Park, the Superior Marketplace, were the, I believe, the only commercial properties that were included in the district at that time. The SMID has two dedicated revenue sources. One is a property tax, a mill levy of 28 mills total. 15 of that is for debt purposes. The other 13 mil is to help with the operation and maintenance of the district, the streets and roads and lights that I previously mentioned. That debt mill levy is scheduled to expire in 2024. Its initial debt was issued for the Phase 1 improvements, which is the Southwest Loop that is currently there now. That was done in 2003 time frame. 2006, I think, is when it was completed. There's also a townwide sales tax of 0.16% that's dedicated to the district, and that's scheduled to expire in December 31st of 2022. In the fall of 2012, as part of the town center PD that was the town was going through with the property owners of Biela and Menkick, which is 80 acres, as part of that process, prior to the approval of the plan development, the town had requested from those property owners that they include their property into the district. This was done at the request of the town to include it into the districts without any knowledge or expectation that special districts would be formed on the property, which add an additional mill levy to those properties. And then in 2013, when a master developer came on board and started going through the process to amend the town center plan development and bring in the additional 80 acres roughly to the south, which are the Spicer and Shep properties formerly, they had also proposed that a special district be levied, mill levy be added to those 160 acres. At that time, they wanted to try to lessen the amount of property tax mill levy that was going to be assessed to future businesses and residential. So they had asked, as we were going through the process, through our agreements, that the 80 acres that was included in 2012, the Menkick and Biela properties be excluded from SMID. The town had agreed to this. As we were going through the process for exclusion, the town attorney and the district attorney for the master developer both agreed that the court would likely want a separate new resolution to exclude them from the property, which has brought us to this point where we're at now.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Hanson?
So my question really was just about the fourth whereas on the resolution. It was confusing to me, but it says, whereas because the property is located within the Superior Town Center development, the services currently being provided to the property are quite limited and are the same services being provided to all other residents of the town of Superior. I didn't think that our services were limited, so What is that saying?
So in order for the exclusion to be effective, the town agrees to take on the services that are currently being provided by the district to the property that we're trying to exclude. What we're saying is those services are not, it will not be a burden for the town to take those additional services on. Did I answer your question? Maybe not.
Yeah, not really.
Okay.
That doesn't read straight.
We can certainly,
So
if it's not reading clearly, we can certainly
the
change it.
services that we're already providing for the district, for SMID, the debt mill levy and the operation and maintenance of the roads for the interchange, the street lights, those are not an additional burden by these properties being excluded
Right.
from the district.
Okay. It just read to me like the services for that property are limited, and we're also limited for the rest of the residents.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can see how you read it like that. That's not what was intended, but I can certainly change it to make it clear.
How would you like it to read then?
I see how you're reading it now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't read it like that at first.
How is it possible that these properties being built right where our interchange is and the triple F during, all that SMID area, how is it that they won't impact the streets? How is it that they could possibly not impact? I mean, this, to me,
I don't think we're saying
doesn't
that
make sense.
I don't think we're trying to say that they're not going to impact the streets.
But excluding them means they wouldn't be paying for it.
True. Excluding, they're going to be paying for debt service. They're not going to be paying for new taxes to SMID. We agreed to do this by agreement with the developer. That was part of the agreement that we struck last March.
They'll continue to pay the 15 mil towards the debt.
Well, I mean,
Or towards the debt that was issued for the first phase.
to me, I see this as yet another blow. I wouldn't have agreed to this. They can just lower their Metro District mill levy. If, this makes no sense to me, to exclude that area from the mill levy for supporting the maintenance and administration of that whole area. To me, that they're going to benefit from it, and in 20, 30 years from now, they're going to need to benefit from it and have to pay into it, which they're not going to be, and all the other businesses will be. So I'm sorry, this is lopsided to me.
Well, the other issue we have with this being included in the district is for the entire development, the southern properties are not in the district currently.
So, can I ask, while people are pondering that, so inclusion of the debt service mill levy presumably will make the retirement of the debt happen sooner. Is that correct? And what happens when they get included?
Depending on how quickly buildings come online and the property tax assessment starts to be acquired. Because it's not currently...
Do we have a model of what that looks like, the timeline?
Paul, do you want to come up and...
Paul Mills, town staff. I'm sorry, Mayor, your question was the model of the current debt schedule?
Right, so for SMID, sorry for using that, but with addition of additional properties from the town center paying into the debt service mill levy, presumably that would accelerate the repayment of that debt. Is that true?
Yes, that is potentially an option, either repayment of the debt, if in fact the mill levy stayed consistent at 15 mils for all the property, it could accelerate that particular debt payment, or as properties come online and the valuation increases, theoretically, the mill levy could be reduced to pay the existing debt service, one of those two scenarios.
And has town staff come up with what they a preferred way to do this, to either drop the mill levy or pay it off early?
We haven't. I think it's conjecture at this point in time. Obviously, a lot will be dependent upon the timing of the development and what type of development happens and how much valuation is added to the district, again, only on the north 80 acres. I mean, it'd be a good situation to be in, but we're several years away from even contemplating it. There'll be no additional assessed valuation for at least 3 years.
And do you know what the, perhaps I should know this from the budget document, but with additional sales tax coming online associated with this, with the mill levy associated with this operations and service of the area drop, is that contemplated, or do you think that this is fixed at this level for the foreseeable future?
It potentially could, Mayor, but on a short-term basis. Again, that sales tax stream is a temporary 20-year stream to expire in 2022. So we could get a proliferation or an infusion, of additional sales tax revenue from new businesses in the town center, or new residents living in the town center, shopping within town. And that will help to increase the sales tax revenue generated for the interchange district. But again, that will only be temporary, and that sales tax at this point in time is scheduled to stop in December 2022.
So there will be a decision to be made by a future board whether or not to continue that, to drop the mill levy, or do something else with that revenue stream.
Correct.
Something that I will not be here for to
There'll be a
be
number
able
of
to
options,
discuss.
but assuming there's any level of development over there, it will lessen the burden, the existing tax burden, either from a sales tax perspective or a property tax perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask one other question?
Yes, Trustee Williams.
So after the debt service is paid, and in the future, when the interchange needs repair or a completely new interchange or some kind of improvement, then who is paying for that?
At this point in time, as the manager identified, that maintenance associated with the interchange essentially is being paid through the 13 mills assigned. So currently, there are 28 mills assessed by the district, 15 for debt, 13 for maintenance.
I get that, but I mean, what properties would be paying for that?
The properties that we're paying for it are, as currently within the district, paying for the maintenance, the commercial properties within the Superior Marketplace, and then the Awida development.
Where's the Awida?
The office park going south.
Discovery.
Southbound on McCaslin on the
Discovery,
east.
okay.
Yeah,
And that's it?
That is correct.
And none of the town center would be paying for it?
None of the town center, nor any additional properties within town, commercial or residential.
So it's just this small little area, so the burden is on the Superior Marketplace and the Discovery Park?
That is, the property tax burden, correct, the sales tax burden
Correct.
is on the entire
Well,
town. Or on
all businesses within.
The entire state.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a little lopsided. I mean, I would have a problem if I was a business owner in one area that had to pay for the 13 mills, and not have to pay next door the 13 mills. I mean, it seems...
At the end of the day, it depends on how successful the town is. The town board could make a policy decision that will use general fund revenues to offset the cost of the interchange.
But we are making a board decision today to undo that.
To exclude the people
Right.
from town center.
Correct. So in the future, they might have to come back and change this.
Yeah, and now,
It's just-
since both of these taxes, the sales tax and the property tax expire in 2022 and 2024, the board at that time is going to have a decision to make prior to that on whether you want to go back to the voters and ask to extend those taxes, or come back with a new tax, or something like that, and whether it's townwide or specific to certain businesses within the area of the interchange, but those are, yeah, those will be.
But you're
questions.
talking about just the debt service. The actual 13 mills is not the debt service. That is in perpetuity until something changes.
Well, as Paul mentioned, when the sales tax is getting close to expiration, the board has a number of options that they could consider. One is extending that and having it replace something, or so. I mean, there's a number of options that need to be discussed in the future.
And Trustee Williams, if I may, one point of clarification for the businesses within the Superior Town Center, as the manager identified, there will be up to 3 metropolitan districts that all the property tax or the property owners, in the Superior Town Center will be paying a debt mill levy as well as an operation mill levy exclusively for the infrastructure within that particular development. So there is that burden on those property owners for the infrastructure associated exclusively with the Superior Town Center.
But that's part of them doing business for their development. I'm just talking about the roads they're actually going to be using to get there. I mean, that's what this is for.
It's the interchange.
Well, that's the road.
Trustee Skumatz.
And you talked about making a poor decision tonight, but am I mishearing, or is this a decision that was de facto already made in March, and now we're just sort of passing the resolution that follows from that?
That's correct.
And
As part of the
it
agreement.
feels like it's yet another of the hunting things coming from March, and it's a big problem. I guess my other question is, did this part of where revenues are and aren't coming from and all the rest of that stuff, was that reflected in the models that we saw, or when we originally sort of moved this forward, or is this something that kind of, I assume it was well understood by the modelers, if it wasn't well understood by all the folks up here?
I mean, one of the principal modelers, it was well understood. And then additionally, as it relates to not only the budget, which you adopted, the 5-year plan, which you reviewed as part of the budget process through 2018, the revenue associated with the interchange district, specifically the sales tax, the property tax revenue, was relatively constant. Inferring from that, there was no additional valuation, no town center valuations supporting the maintenance and operation of that particular district.
I don't know how to ask this other than, are there any other of these sorts of things coming forward that we didn't quite get that was part of the March agreement? Are there any?
I think this is the last step we needed to take.
I don't think we may not recall these. I don't think any of this was hidden.
No.
We had I personally brought up this particular item, so.
You did?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I was laying behind your neck in a brace, so I didn't hear everything, yes.
Trustees.
But I
Thanks.
guess I have a question
Apologies.
to Kendra and maybe to Matt. So hypothetically, what happens if this resolution is not adopted tonight?
That's a good question.
Well, technically, this is not effective until January 1st of next year anyway, if you want more time. But, I mean, we are legally bound by a contract to do this at some point. So if it's not tonight, I understand if you need more time to think about it or want more information. But,
Well, I guess, a lot of things happened last March. But honestly, I mean, I'd be the smartest guy up here. I didn't quite understand.
Okay.
I don't think I'm the only one.
We only had 4 days, so I wouldn't.
It was an overwhelming amount. It's a big decision to
Sure,
make.
I
So
understand.
obviously, we've talked about this before. If we had to go back and redo it, it would take a lot more time. If this is not going to go into effect until next January 1st, what's the hurry to do it tonight? I guess that's and with more information,
Developers Council is here, she can address that, because I'm not going to.
No, I mean, I need to know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, yeah, and that's why I would rather let her address that, if that's.
While that's being addressed, I guess another question while you're thinking about this is, can you document how you're able to drop property tax mill levies? Or agreements with?
How we're able to drop, well, First of all, I'm Cassia Furman, McGeady Cisneros, 450 East 17th Avenue, Denver, on behalf of the SDC Metropolitan Districts numbers 1, 2, and 3, which were organized following a successful November election. The districts held their organizational meeting December 11th, I believe, and organized. And if I could speak to Trustee Williams' comments, it may be helpful to conceptualize as well one of the reasons why I believe this clause landed in the public finance agreement that was adopted in March is that with the anticipated creation of the STC metropolitan districts, it created overlapping services with the SMID district unless the town agreed to the exclusion of the property basically south of the interchange that's the Superior Town Center. So one thing that the Colorado statute provides in forming new Title 32 districts is that you can't provide overlapping services. It's very disfavored, and one of the processes we go through when we look to organizing them is to make sure we either obtain the consent and work out with existing districts that provide services or seek to exclude, which was the option that was determined in March to move forward with this property. Part of that reason is because the Superior Town Center districts will be providing infrastructure services, as Paul described to you, south of the interchange. The districts will continue to pay the debt service mill levy and on the existing SMID improvements. And I think it might be also helpful to consider that the operating mill levy that's associated with the existing SMID improvements came about because of that debt, because of those specific improvements that were constructed at the interchange. And I don't want to speak on behalf of SMID, and I don't understand all the history of how those things were financed and for what purposes, but my understanding is that operating mill levy is primarily associated with the debt and the operation of those facilities, and that it will be somewhat changed circumstances when that debt is retired, and at that point, as the town manager stated, there will be some decisions about what to do with the future of the interchange, which is that a county road or a state road? State road. So there's a lot of governing entities and a lot of rules and regulations at play there. So I don't know if that's at all helpful, but the exclusion, you're shaking your head no. So
What do you mean by overlapping services?
The overlapping services were, I think
What's
in this
overlapping?
case,
What service?
overlapping means that the boundaries of the SMID and the STC districts would create a situation where more than one metropolitan district was providing services related to roads and transportation.
For roads and transportation?
I think that was probably, I don't know what all the powers of the SMID are, but...
So are your metro districts 1, 2, and 3 providing roads and transportation services?
They are.
And-
Which will be, those roads will be dedicated to the town upon completion and, checklist of your warranty process.
So how are they overlapping in area? I mean, they're in
Well,
two
the
different
area
areas.
was overlapping or will be until the exclusion's processed.
I think you're talking about the boundaries of the districts. Yeah. And this is only, but I think where Trustee Williams is going is this was to fund the interchange. SMID
Right.
is for the interchange. So I think the question is, you all aren't providing services to the interchange, you're providing your own roads, right?
Correct, and we will continue to pay the debt service on the improvements to the interchange in the same amount as
So when
those
you're
properties.
all built out, and we've had, a successful town center, and we need to rebuild, improve in some way or form the interchange, are you trying to oversee that the town center, that project doesn't pay into that in the future?
Well,
At that, with the current improvements that are being done, we anticipate 25-year improvement timeline for those level services that we expect from those improvements. So that's so far down the road, we would have to look at a new tax for any, because we'd need to issue debt or some other way to pay for those improvements at that time. So
Well, it was included for a reason, these properties, in 2003. And what is that reason, and why is it no longer valid?
Well, the reason was to help pay for the debt that was issued to pay for the first phase improvements of the interchange that were completed in 2006, 2007, and then to pay for the ongoing operation and maintenance of that interchange.
So how is that, why is that changing now that we have the town center being built? Why do we not need that? Why do we not need to assess the 13 mills? Why are we trying to exclude it? Why was that something that you needed to do?
I tried to explain the reason for the exclusion. It's very typical when you form metropolitan districts that provide the same services. And the SMID was formed to fund infrastructure that's already in place. And that whole structure, as Mr. Madley says, has a certain lifespan. The improvements that the SDC districts will fund for Superior Town Center have a different lifespan. And in the end, the interchange is within the town, and we're all within the town, so future improvements will be town-wide.
It's like you're speaking Greek to me. I'm
Trustee
sorry. It
Gregorius.
just doesn't make sense.
Oh, I understand Greek, but I'm still confused. I speak Greek fluently. Did I get my?
Well, perhaps my attempts to clarify.
No, I don't know if I got my question answered,
Do
though.
you want to restate it?
Yes. My question is, what happens if we postpone adopting this resolution tonight, given that it's not going to go into effect until next January? What's the hurry to do it this month versus May, June, or next October?
Well, it's important from the developer's perspective.
Well, I need more on that. I get that. I mean, that's obviously. But
Because they're starting development on the property with the expectation that the 13 mills for the operating will come off of the, total mill levy for the STC districts. They're entering contracts, in fact, with 1 to 2 potential buyers that are actually based, in fact, off of the property tax, and the calculation that's included in their property-based PIF, that's a critical component of the bond financing for the first phase, first tranche of bonds that's going to fund infrastructure for the STC project, is actually based on a formula involving the property taxes that assumes the millage with the 13 mills excluded.
Yeah, it's going to help them secure future users for the site, because when future users come in, they're looking at competition. When they're looking at a site, they're looking at Louisville, Broomfield, Boulder, and they're looking at what their property tax is going to be in all those areas. So it helps them, with some certainty, tell these users this is what it's going to be.
Right, so as soon as you all approve this, we'll file it with court. Court will order it. We'll order it within a reasonable period of time. We've done this a lot of times with Boulder County District Court. It doesn't take very long. And then it will be done, and it will not go into effect until January 1st, but it will be done, and it provides them certainty. I think that's why they...
It was originally slated to be completed by July 1st, I think, of this year, and we mutually agreed to push it back until the cost-sharing agreement was completed.
July 1st of 2013?
Yes.
Yes, not this, just to be clear. It's
Sorry, that
yes.
was last year now,
Yes.
right? It's the new year. Thanks.
so it helps leverage in some ways. It helps in the negotiations of potential.
Yeah, future users want to know what their property tax is going to be. I mean, it helps them decide if it's a financially viable site for them or not, and they need to look someplace else.
Okay, well, that answered my question, okay.
Can I ask one question? So does this give the developer obviously more leverage and more incentives that they can offer to the business owner coming in? So they have more flexibility.
And it's also
With
built in,
finances.
specifically built into the agreements that they're negotiating with specific parties at the moment, which they're very close to finalizing.
So they have the ability to offer more incentive or less incentive based on whatever their bottom numbers are and what they have to deal with based on what mill levies are here, what the PIM that you mentioned.
The PIF.
PIF, I'm
Yes.
sorry, PIF. Public improvement.
Yes.
Yeah. Fee that you can either reduce, right? I mean, there's a lot of variables that you can play with in order to entice these business owners, correct?
It enhances their ability to
Right,
compete
right.
with other entities.
Right, I get that.
That's what we needed to know, to
Right.
understand, yeah.
Trustee Skumatz?
And here's another question. I don't know if there's a way to even vote no. Am I understanding that this is already in all the agreements and this is a formality?
Well, I mean, obviously, you're voting tonight. You can vote no, you'll be in breach of your agreement if you don't pass this. So, yes, I don't want to say it's formality. I mean, this resolution is necessary to take it to the court to exclude the property from the district. If you vote no, we can't go to the court, we can't exclude it from the district, and then you'll be in breach of the public finance agreement that we entered into last year.
So did we just receive legal advice? I believe so.
Yes, perhaps.
That's all theoretical.
That's right.
It's all theoretical, right? There we go. So this maybe is, so the question I had earlier, perhaps I'll just address it to the town manager related to PIF, since you just brought that up, that we feel confident that PIFs will be mutually satisfactory with property owners within the town center.
Yes. I've had in-depth conversations regarding it, so.
Okay. I just want to make sure that that's going to happen. Okay. Public comment regarding this particular issue? Trustee
One more
Williams?
question. Sorry to dog this, but let's say the 13 mills is assessed. Could you reduce the public improvement fee, or public PIF? I'm sorry, I'm getting all mixed up with all these little acronyms, but the PIF, can you reduce that you're charging the new property owner, or new lot owner, whatever you want to call it, business, to compensate for that?
Well, first, the PIF is a private covenant of the developer, and so I have, as the counsel for the district, no control over, what the developer
does.
negotiates and records on the public record, and don't purport to speak for RC Superior, which is the property owner this evening. I'm here on behalf of the districts. But no, that there would not be a direct correlation the way that they have the agreements negotiated, and I'm not at liberty to, discuss their private negotiations here this evening. I'm not trying to be withholding, but they're private agreements that aren't, the STC
We'd be
districts are not
certainly
a part of it.
open to hearing about them.
Excuse me? Sorry, I missed that. You're open to hearing about them?
Yes, I am totally open to hearing about the
Okay.
PIFs.
Good. Well,
When the time comes, we'll find out.
processing the exclusion is going to be a good step towards advancing the agreements forward. I can say that with all certainty.
Okay. Yes, public comment, or staff comment.
Alex Arnall, Public Works Director. Just to show where some of the overlap is, the SMID property tax and sales tax also pays for the landscaping and maintenance of the roads within the Superior Marketplace. So if the town center paid that mill levy, they're actually paying a certain portion of that mill levy goes to maintain these facilities over in the Superior Marketplace. They're going to be doing that same thing on Marshall Road and the roads on their end of it. So that's where the overlap, I think, in the services come from. Now, there's equity questions about the interchange itself and whether they should contribute. And maybe that's something you can solve down the road by an agreement between the two districts to help fund that. I mean, there's the interchange, and then there's the rest of the improvements that SMID covers. And they're going to be covering a like amount of those types of improvements within their development. So, I mean, that's a way of getting it down. Again, you've already agreed to it, but I mean, that's a reasoning of why there's an overlap.
Trustee Williams?
So is there any way that you could get to the board exactly what SMID does pay for.
True.
That would be really,
And the other thing, the town center will be paying for, the improvements to Marshall and McCaslin intersection. They'll be making some of those widening and single improvements, then again, benefit the marketplace because it improves the operations of that intersection. So there is some overlap, but the interchange is out there that, everybody's going through that, and that's maybe a separate issue that maybe you can resolve down the road of how that's funded. And the overall maintenance, those maintenance costs, we're working on maintenance agreements with Louisville and RTD and CDOT, and those will be ongoing for a number of years.
So we don't currently have an IGA with Louisville on the maintenance going forward?
We're working on one.
We're working on it, but we don't have that yet.
It's not in place yet.
Yeah, that'll come back.
And the concept is they maintain their side, we maintain our side.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Public comments regarding this particular issue? So, I guess my only comments are that this is part of an agreement that we signed earlier. It was discussed and brought up. Whether or not it makes sense, I don't know for sure, but I think it's a way, in my mind, it's what I thought at the time was a way for us to compete with other entities and attracting businesses. So, I'm going to be in favor of this for when we've already approved it and to make sense from my perspective. Down the road, I think we do need to discuss what to do with the service mill levy. I think in many municipalities or governmental entities, that would be paid upon a town-wide basis as opposed to being particularly isolated to a certain section of town. But that's something we could discuss for everybody who's here in 2022 or 2025, whatever that timeline is, we can discuss it then.
I'm going to make every effort to be alive by then.
It's not that far ahead.
It isn't. I have more of a problem with it than you do.
Any other thoughts or?
Yeah, I just would say that, from time to time, we have issues and concerns come up about the agreement we made in March, and I don't. When I voted for the town center, to approve going forward with the town center, I had that agreement in mind, and had we not entered that agreement, I don't think we would have had a town center developer. And I think, so we're here where we are now, and I think it's good. And I think going forward on the town center is good for all of us. So it's just my thinking on all of these issues.
And Trustee Hanson, did we solve your...
I guess I wanted to ask the attorney, you understood my question, so were you going to wordsmith that whereas a little bit?
I just took it out. You know what? It doesn't help anything.
Makes it easy.
If you left it out.
I know, I should have left it out in the beginning. You're right, it wasn't
No, it's
clear.
okay.
I just took it out. So the fourth whereas clause, I just deleted from both resolutions. We don't need it.
With that, I'd like to make a motion. Town Superior Resolution Number R-7, Series 2014, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior regarding the exclusion of certain property from the Superior-McCaslin Interchange Metropolitan District as amended by the town attorney.
Motion by Trustee Hanson. Is there a second? Trustee Sorelli, any further discussion? I think we're sort of spending money, so is it okay if I ask for a roll call?
Yes, please.
Williams?
no.
Schumann?
No.
Buckle?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
DeBoris?
I will vote yes to honor the agreement, but the answer is yes.
Cyril?
So I'm not happy
Yes.
with it.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you very much. I just want to make sure that these PIF agreements come to fruition.
Sorry, there should be a second resolution.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
There's
Oh, I missed
actually
that one.
two under the same agenda item, I apologize.
Oh, okay, I missed that one.
There's one for SMID and one for the board.
Oh, here it is.
And I removed the whereas. It's the same whereas clause in both, so I removed it from both, just for the...
Bid two, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion, Superior-McCaslin Interchange Metropolitan District, Resolution Number SMID-2, Series 2014, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Superior Metropolitan District, Interchange Metropolitan District regarding the exclusion of certain property from the district. And did you amend that at all?
Yes, I took the fourth whereas clause I've just deleted.
Sorry, as amended by the town attorney.
Thank you.
Motion by trustee Hanson, second by trustee Sorelli. Any further discussion? Phyllis? I guess we don't have to do this, right?
Yes.
DeVores?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Mokel?
Yes.
Skumatz?
No?
Williams?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else for this item? Okay. Thank you. That brings us to item number 8, a continued public hearing regarding special use permit for a monument sign guardian storage case SCP-2013-1. Mr. Magley.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant Guardian Storage, which is located off of 76th Street behind the Superior Marketplace, has submitted an application to add a monument sign at the southwest corner of the intersection of 76th Street and Marshall Road. The monument sign has been designed to mimic those monument signs that are currently in the Superior Marketplace. It has two places for 2 tenants to advertise on. Because it's in the right-of-way, it requires a special use permit approved by the town, as well as a revocable license agreement with the town. We've done this previously in 2 other times. One was with Discovery Office Park. They have their monument sign as you go up or south on McCaslin. It's in the right-of-way as well. And then the one over here for Superior Plaza is in the right-of-way as well. And we did similar agreements with both of those applicants at that time. The sign is slightly larger than what's in the marketplace, but those tend to be a little bit higher than where this will be, even though it will be on a berm.
Will you show us?
Yeah, the applicant has a presentation, so they'll present to you guys that. So with that, just a brief introduction. Kevin Cohen's here with Guardian Storage. Ask you to come up and give a presentation. And
you need my address? I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, business address, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, Kevin Cohen with Guardian Storage, 1555 South 76th Street in Superior. Good to see everybody again. I promise there'll be no discussions of PIFs, overlapping districts, or mill levies. This is going to be very easy to understand. I'm just going to spend a few minutes with just some quick introductory points, and Jim Brostovich with Civil Resources will talk about a lot of the sight lines and kind of engineering behind it that I know that is very important to a lot of people. But in terms of the purpose of the sign, I mean, the first 2 bullet points are pretty obvious because I think they're consistent with any business owner's desire to have a monument sign. First is to create awareness of our product to Marshall Road, but obviously Highway 36 because that's where most of the traffic is. Interestingly enough, every single customer that comes in our doors, we know how they learn of us, and we thought we'd get more kind of visibility and attention from the highway, but most of the people were finding us online, obviously. However, we do think the sign will help create visibility for our business. Secondly, it does provide some directional guidance for prospect tenants when you're telling them how to get to our property, to be able to say, once you pass Costco, you'll see our sign, turn left on 76th Street. And lastly, we do think it's an appealing benefit to potential developers who might want to be in that area eventually. I think it says that the area is open for development, and we would like to see somebody else share that monument sign at some point because, frankly, it's a big investment for us, and there will be an opportunity to share some of that cost with somebody else down the road. To follow up on what Matt was saying about the design, in kind of the same spirit as the development of our project, we tried to take a lot of the elements of the marketplace so that it was a consistent architecture. It's not exactly the same architecture. I'll just point out the differences. It is 2 to 3 feet taller. However, the ones in the marketplace sit up higher because they're on a high kind of elevated hill. So really, top of the sign to top of signs, it's probably no taller than those, but I think it's 2 to 3 feet higher from the ground level. So the ground level starts lower, if that makes sense, for where we are. We added the Superior logo on the pillar. And, you know, if that's something people don't want for some reason, that's fine. We just thought it would be a nice thing to add since it's kind of a gateway to the town. The last thing we did is we actually put our pillar on the inside as opposed to the outside. And I don't have the history, but I'm not sure why they did it at the marketplace because it actually hurts the visibility of the sign, so we just didn't think it made any sense. I don't know if anybody will ever really notice it. One thing I do want that I will ask to be discussed is we put two designs here, and one is where we would have Guardian storage on the top and a blank panel on the bottom. And we have requested that until a future tenant comes in, that we are able to utilize both panels of the sign. And I did bring that up to the Planning Commission, and I think it was unanimously decided that, you know, I think the statement was made, well, it's Guardian's sign, they should be able to do what they want with it. But, you know, I'd like to go a little bit further than that for my request and just kind of give some of the, you know, kind of the justification for asking for that until another tenant might come in. We're going to make a significant investment in this sign. It's going to cost between the masonry, the sign, the site work, the landscaping, and bringing power to the sign, almost $60,000 for us. And there are some significant benefits to the town. We're dressing up a corner that could use dressing up, frankly, at one of the gateways to the town. There's a drainage issue that Jim can talk about that through our site we're going to correct. And again, we think it's a positive product for attracting developers to the area. So, and really, you know, the alternative is to have a blank panel. And I just don't think, in my opinion, that is a necessarily positive thing. To me, it says recession. So, you know, it's kind of taking this all into consideration. We would like to utilize both panels until a later time. So I'm happy to answer questions when Jim is done, but I'll let him kind of get to the engineering stuff.
Hi, Jim Brostovich, 323 5th Street, Frederick. So this is the corner. This is the drainage issue, one of the rare rainy days we have in Superior, but you can see there is a basin filled with rock and flowers there. Here's one. There's no slope on this drain. The curb and gutter needs to be reprofiled in order to get water where it needs to go. So that's one of the things we're going to do. We actually need to do a little bit of earthwork here, and in the process of putting up the sign, we'll re-pour all this curb and gutter, we'll put in a new channel, we'll dress up these rocks and grout it so that it's not a trash catcher. There's actually, when we look at this site, there's actually really only one place this sign can go. Because of the gravel, or the riprap basin, there's some dry utilities, a fiber line and a gas line in here. And then when we look at the green here is the site distance, the site triangle for 76th Street to Marshall Road. So we had to put it behind the site triangle, outside of the drainage basin, and avoiding the dry utilities that are there. This purple line is sight lines from Marshall Road and from US 36. And it's a little hard to see on this exhibit, but this is the berm for CDOT's detention pond. And that's one of the reasons why it drove the height to where it is, because if we put this down at the height that the other signs are, from base to top of sign, you actually wouldn't see it until you're right up on the intersection. Little enlarged detail, this is just the engineering plans showing curb and gutter and some new pipe work. This will be a grouted basin, so it won't be quite as attractive for snakes to hide out in there. This is just an exhibit of existing topography. You can see the dry utilities through here, and there's actually a legal description in the exhibit that's been prepared for the sign itself that doesn't show up at this scale. Landscape. So as part of this project, we will landscape this corner. A lot of low water use plants will be seeded and dressed up. It won't look like the irrigated bluegrass turf that we have by Costco, but it will look definitely a step above what it is now. It will have, there actually is a
water line right here, so it'll be irrigated off of that existing main. The plantings that were in the elevation view are maybe a little tropical. That's not exactly what is planned. I can't read these here, and I didn't prepare this plant list, but they are listed here by the landscape architect. So, any other questions?
Trustee Gross?
Actually, this is for Kevin. First of all, how's your business going?
We're very happy with where we are to this point in lease-up, and the community's really received us well.
Good.
And a long way to go, it's early in the game, so you got to keep your foot down, but we're very pleased.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
To me, this is a no-brainer. I mean, obviously, I'm going to vote for it. I think both panels are yours. You're putting up the money. You should do it. When a new tenant comes on board, would you hold on to both panels, or would you go back to the other design that you had, where you're on top and somebody else would be at the bottom?
I mean, because of the investment we have in it, having another developer in the area, we'd want somebody to pay us for half the cost, because I think that's appropriate and fair. If somebody was willing to do that, I don't want to say 100% certainty, but our intent is to share that panel with somebody else. It's a significant amount of money for us to recoup. I don't really think at the end of the day, we wouldn't have done this project if it didn't work on one panel. It just wouldn't have, it'd be a waste of money. So we can make one panel work and recoup a lot of our investments by bringing in somebody else. So it's just something we want to have the flexibility to do until that time comes, because it could be a year down the road, it could be 10 years down the road. So that's why we've made the request.
Good enough for me.
Sam, thank you. So you answered a couple of my questions about the cost to a new tenant, but it wasn't real clear. The new tenant could be someone on your premise, or it'd be someone in the...
Yeah, the same question was asked at Planning Commission. No, it would be another developer in the area. It would not be it could be anybody, but we weren't thinking it would be a tenant that's storing with Guardian Storage.
But you have businesses that operate out of Guardian Storage.
Yeah, if a business, I guess, wanted to come to us and say...
Pay $30,000.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that we have we're going to have a strong opinion about the business. I mean, I assume there's certain types of businesses the town would not allow into the town, and maybe some that we would say, maybe it's not the best advertising to have a marijuana dispensary advertising on there, but...
Well, and from staff's perspective, we always envision that sign, the second panel, to be used by a future developer of one of those other pieces of property over there, so that they could have some exposure as well.
Okay. So that was my question to you, is why you oppose them using the whole sign right now? So it's because they may not give up?
It's potential, yep.
Okay. Then in the agreement, is there a minimum, it appears that either party can back out of the agreement with 30 days' notice, but that's a significant investment of $60,000. Is there a minimum amount of time that they would own that for? So 60 days from now, or 60 days once it's built, you can say, we want that back.
That right away?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kevin and I had those discussions.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously a huge concern for us, and we're taking a calculated risk here. I mean, certainly I've asked Matt, what are the factors that could lead to that being taken away? Well, Marshall Road could be widened, but I think it's already been widened.
The bike lanes have been added. There could be improvements to 76th Street, but we don't expect that right away. It'll meet what you've done in front of your business.
Right.
So, I mean, you have some known...
Yeah, I mean, certainly if anybody here tonight can honestly think of a significant risk to something that could happen where the town would say, sorry guys, we got to take that away, I would love to hear it, but I haven't heard anything, or I can't envision a scenario where that would happen.
I can envision one scenario, and I don't want to go in front of Trustee Williams, is that
if that second tenant sign didn't become available.
Okay. Yeah.
Then we might say that, I don't know, I won't be here at that time, but I could see that that would be one way that people would be unhappy.
That seems like great leverage for the town.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Trustee Williams? I actually have one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Has the potential obstruction of oncoming traffic been resolved?
I'll let Jim talk about that.
Yes, let me go back up. There was a question, I think, and now that I recall the planning commission meeting, there was a question that I may not have answered with Alex, but the question was, where's the existing stop line out there in relation to this green? And actually, I believe the stop bar out there is actually further back from where this green line is right now. But this green line is what the code requires, so I don't think there's a problem with the existing stop bar. If the worst-case scenario it was a problem, we would just move that stop bar. There's no reason it couldn't be moved.
So we'll ensure, though, that it absolutely does not obstruct traffic coming down there? Because what's the speed limit there? Is it dropped to 35 at that point?
It does drop to 35, yes,
Okay.
that's correct. And Alex has looked at this, and he'll oversee that aspect of it.
Okay, thanks.
Trustee Williams?
Being that this is a CDOT right-of-way, I don't know how we can guarantee anything, because I've put signs there in
It's
the
not.
past, and CDOT just takes them. They don't even ask.
Well, they
They
may
just
not
do whatever
know.
they want.
Sure, it's gonna be hard to take this one, but.
Just saying, CDOT is CDOT, and
That's not their right-of-way, actually.
It isn't?
It's not. CDOT's right-of-way is right here.
Okay.
We do have an access permit actually already from CDOT, because there was a perception, first of all, there's potentially, during construction, there could be a temporary traffic impact. We also did a little bit of vegetation control right on their property to evaluate our sight lines. So we do have the permit, but it's not in CDOT's right-of-way.
That's good to know.
So they can't just decide your sign is in their way?
It's not
They
in
can't
their
do that?
right-of-way.
Okay. That would be my only concern.
Trustee Skumatz?
And my question is just whether the use of both placards, or whatever you want to call it, puts Guardian Storage outside sort of the sizes that we've allotted to other businesses, and by how much?
Yeah, they would have additional sign square footage just by using both tenant signs, locations. I think the tenant sign dimensions match fairly closely what's in the marketplace, and they are only allowed one tenant sign per business.
So I had a couple of questions. So can you describe what the materials are? I mean, it's on here, but I think there was some discussion at the Planning Commission also about materials, so.
I think it's the same sandstone that's on the other monument sign. The one question was on the
base and the cap, I think.
Yeah. On this part right here, there was a concern about it looking like a sheet metal, and a request made for it to be either stoned or like a brushed finish. And we elected for the brush finish, as you can imagine, because, you know, it is less expensive than making it stone all the way through. But I think everything else, and I don't know what the...
Why does that need to be there? I mean, I guess from a construction standpoint, I don't know why that needs to be there at all.
Well, I don't know the answer because our sign company designed it, but I would think you need a kind of a flush surface. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't remember what's in the town center, in the marketplace.
I think from
It's stone. Yeah, it's stone.
From an eye test standpoint, driving at 70 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour on Marshall Road, I don't think.
No, I get that, but, you know, one way would be to put like some concrete on the base to elevate it, so you'd use the same amount of stone. You just would get rid of the aluminum part of it. I mean, it's just a thought. Once again, I don't have strong feelings about it, but.
And just have the same look on the base that goes up to the pillar? Yeah, so...
If it's behind vegetation, you wouldn't even see the base.
You could save money that way and then put it on the, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but it seems like yeah.
I think, in terms of getting it to look comparable to what's already there, it might look more distinct taking that out altogether versus it being a slightly different material that probably nobody will notice, but I'm not sure.
Just a question.
Yeah.
And then
and these are, just to clarify, the same size as the actual panels at the marketplace.
And so those panels are, what happens there? They're internally illuminated individual letters, is that right?
Yep, same nuts and bolts as the other side.
And so I should be able to see this on the drawing, but looking at this face on, where am I standing? If I'm looking at that sign there, am I standing in the Costco gas station? Is that what? Oh, okay. And why is it oriented that way as opposed to oriented towards the highway? Just had a question.
Can you see it from both sides, the Guardian storage?
Yeah.
Oh, so then you can see it coming either way on 36.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Marshall.
And
Marshall, that's why.
Yeah, I think all the signs are on both sides of the signs, so yeah, that would be our intention as well.
Is the town logo, does it say Town of Superior, or it just has the logo?
It looks like somebody just photoshopped that in. Like, I think we would just work with the town to make sure we have the correct logo, whatever that is.
Okay.
And so the vegetation you said wasn't tropical. Can you read actually what's going there so we know what we're voting on?
I mean, the direction on and maybe Fred can speak to this, but it was to use the same types of plants that are at the marketplace. I don't know what type of plants they are.
We have some shrubs, nearly wild rose, red twig dogwood, and white myrtleland landscape rose, and some ornamental grasses, blue avena grass, some ground covers perennials, Shasta daisy, English lavender, and deep blue lavender.
Okay. And who's...
I don't know.
The dogwood was helpful. I recognize at least one out of that.
Well, we have specific standards in our code for plant species, and they have to pull from that list.
Okay.
And that's what they pulled from?
And who's going to be responsible for the maintenance of that?
The town is. We're going to install it. We're going to get service to it, but the town will be responsible for the landscaping.
So that'd be unusual because
it is.
The marketplace takes care of theirs, right?
The monument signs? There's certain aspects of the marketplace signs that we actually maintain.
But the landscaping?
And there's certain landscaping that we maintain. It's kind of a mix and match, depending on where it's located.
I think we take care of the medians and things like that, though, right?
Yeah, and some, the corner monument signs, the lighting in there, and I'm not sure about the planning or the irrigation, but the roundabout, we maintain that.
Do you have any
What about the
idea?
other signs that are along
That same road.
Marshall?
The no, those are maintained by the Brixmore. Yep.
And so if we wanted to do, well, I guess I should ask, so I assume that there's not a huge annual maintenance cost for this,
Correct.
and we would have just one of our contractors go there?
Correct, yeah. They're already in the marketplace area doing what we're required to maintain, detention ponds and lighting for the monument sign, planting medians and those things, so, yeah.
Okay.
And we maintain, the monument signs in Rock Creek, all those, and all the plantings there. There's been concern about the way some of the landscaping has looked in the marketplace at times, and so that was, better for us, we thought better for us to maintain it and make sure it looks good than have to.
I just have a few more here. So then there's a couple of pine trees that look terrible out there. sort of at this location, those are coming out, is that right?
They have been removed.
Okay.
CDOT had to approve that.
In order to test the visibility in the sight lines, we had to do that. We also wanted to make sure ahead of time that they would allow us, because that would have been a problem if they didn't.
And you're adding back then 4 more pines, is that what's happening there?
I don't believe so.
No.
I'm sorry, so maybe you can go back to the... So what, the pine trees are the ones that are existing now?
Correct.
I see 6 foot or 10 foot.
Are those the ones that were moved, Jim?
I thought some were being removed and some were being added.
It says remove existing trees.
Yeah. It's these two.
Those two, yep.
And the ones on the south?
Yep.
Those two were removed,
The west side.
and that was the only two.
Can they be added back since they're behind the sign? I mean, I guess where I'm going is, and this is not your issue, so I'm sorry to put you through this. The CDOT side look absolutely atrocious in terms of, like, they have 3 twiggy pine trees out there. I don't know if we can enforce anything with them. I don't know if it's their property and they haven't been good neighbors in keeping their landscaping up to like it was presumably approved at the time that the property was switched there. But I'd like for this to look better, so.
And what this, yes, we've thought about that as well. What this will allow us to do is, we have the cell tower there, and they have required landscaping around that cell tower site. And they have a special use through the town to have that cell tower placed there, and then they're required to keep the landscaping, which has been an issue over the years. But this will allow us to run irrigation up from this location up to that location, so it'll be, the problem has been irrigation, because it's connected to the CDOT facility, so CDOT turns off the irrigation whenever they want, and the trees that are planted out there die. So now we'll be able to better control the irrigation to that landscaping, which over time will help improve the look of that whole site.
No, because, the CDOT site is an eyesore.
They don't take a lot of pride in their...
No, in landscaping?
No.
Not so much. So, whatever we can do to, I mean, it's the gateway into town.
Yeah.
That doesn't really give you a great first impression of how things are when you drive in that direction.
Agreed.
So you'll be in contact with the owners of the cell tower?
Yes, Sprint. And we have been talking to them.
Okay.
And we've been talking to them at the end of last year and this year, as Kevin's been advancing his proposal about extending that irrigation, getting new trees planted, because they've died again, and then moving forward from there. So,
Okay.
once those trees mature, it should start to look a lot better than it does.
All right, so you were on top of that situation. Okay. And then, I guess my only other thought is, I'm fully in favor of this. I think it makes sense. One, I want to make sure that we have, sounds like we have some leverage, but I don't want to get into an argument I don't want to add another sign out there, I guess is what I'm saying. This is the only sign that's going there. And if we have a business that's going there, I'd want to make sure that that second sign is going to become available for use. Okay? And then my only other comment is that the sign looks a little big to me, but maybe it's just my impression. So,
Well,
Trustee Sterling and Trustee
yeah,
Scrimmins.
on the second panel issue, I actually was wondering how many potential developers could we have on 76th Street?
Well, there's 4 remaining property owners, privately owned. Turnbull, Way, Kelly, and then 1 acre piece, just a small 1 acre piece, and I'm not sure who the current owner is of that off the top of my head. So potentially 4 developers, and then if those get divided up with lots and stuff, there could be different users in there. So my guess would be the first to develop would probably want first to be on sign. So
I guess I'm troubled with some point in time could be an issue of having a sign that just calls out two properties and not the others.
I mean, the other thing we could, my vision for this
And that's
was,
speculative, but
instead of having a second tenant on there, you could have a sign on there for the entire area, like 76th Street
Properties.
or something like that, that calls out for multiple tenants in there rather than just one. Was trying to get some signage for businesses that might go in there in the future.
If you did that, then how would you compensate Guardian? If
Well,
name them specifically.
We wouldn't, yeah, but maybe the different developers of those properties could get together and split the cost or something like that.
We had that discussion actually a ways back, and I said more than two tenants we wouldn't be interested in because the letters can't get big enough to be visible on Highway 36, and it was, I hope, maybe you recall that, and I said it just wouldn't even be worth our time. We'd certainly be willing to do a two-panel, but anything more than that, again, 36 is what we're reaching for. It wouldn't work.
Trustee Scott?
And so my question about it had to do with the illumination, and so when you were asking the question, you were talking about individual letters being lit, but I thought the ones that were already there were sort of white with red letters, and it seemed like there were just almost bulbs behind it generally, as opposed to the letters being actually lit. It could be just an impression. Is this one going to be about no brighter presumably than the others, or how does that happen?
Well, I mean, individually lit, it's actually like a strip fixture that goes across the whole inside, and then you'll put a sign up, and the light will just come through the letters. I mean, one thing that almost all people are doing now who are going to signs are doing LED bulbs instead of T8s or T10s because they are brighter, they're more environmentally friendly, they last longer, so we might do an LED light, which is just going to make it read better. It's not going to cause more light pollution. So, in fairness, like, I would hope, honestly, a lot of those signs along the marketplace, if you drive at night, they're pretty dull and sometimes hard to read, so.
They are, and that's what, I thought that was on purpose. And that's why I was asking about this light. I was thinking this one, when I've driven by there, the one for, not TJ Maxx, but whatever they are all pretty dim. And this didn't seem like you had dim in mind, so.
Again, the only thing that would change is making it LED, which is like the standard in sign developments today, versus like a fluorescent strip fixture. But, I mean, I don't know if the intent when the developers did all those signs was to have a dimly lit sign. So, I mean, I would hate to be forced to adopt a kind of obsolete technology in the sign, but we're not trying to create light pollution.
It doesn't have to be the same, it can be the same output, just with an LED. That's, it's consistent with what's there.
Yeah, I don't know what's there, so I can't intelligently speak to it. But it would, I mean, probably be lit like our monument sign that we have at the property and other just standard typical monument sign lighting.
Thanks.
And in terms of the size of it, the only difference is the base being 2 feet higher to accommodate so we could be seen over that berm. But everything else is the same proportions.
Thanks.
I guess I should have brought this up during, I think I would not put the Town of Superior logo on there. It just kind of looked. You would? Just looked busy. I don't think you can even see it. It's just going to look like a red
I kind of like it.
dot.
Because it's.
That's how you enter Superior.
Yeah, you come in Marshall and you see, they still all go back to that, Superior's brand, and that's our logo.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's an
Once again, I don't think anybody's going to be able to, for sure from the highway, nobody's going to be able to tell what
Not from the
that
highway,
is.
it's Marshall.
It's like Marshall.
Okay.
And it signifies you've entered Superior, and it also tells you that Guardian Storage is in Superior.
Again, we are
You
completely
don't care.
different on it.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever, or you could take the time to think about it, or whatever, as far as we're concerned.
Trustee Skuma?
And this is just a little question, but maybe it's something that Heather Craycraft or somebody can answer. I'm just wondering if other businesses that have been limited to one panel are going to be miffed that we're talking about possibly allowing someone to have twice as much signage.
I don't know.
I guess my only impression is that we don't want to go too small, because it was a conversation that we had when we put that other sign in over by Arby's, where I think I said that nobody could possibly read those letters, but they absolutely had to do it, and nobody can read those letters. So we have a sign there that causes no benefit. But public comments regarding this particular issue?
Jim Payne, Superior resident. Let me start by saying, and I've sat through many or a number of conversations in the board over the years on signage in Superior Marketplace and other places, and I'm generally very pro-signage. I have two questions about this one, though. One is, if you look at Marshall Road as you're coming east, I consider that a dangerous turn into 76. There's no turn lane. It might not be so bad if there weren't a empty lane there that has a solid white line. So I'd actually intended at some point to bring to the Traffic and Safety Committee comment about, and I know that's a state road, but comment about improving the turn lane at that intersection. Now, that's a different subject, but my question tonight is, by setting the sight lines for this signage now, would that preclude some sort of an improvement, such as a turn lane in that intersection? You asked what could cause us to...
Yeah, good point.
So I just bring that question up. What happens is, as you're coming east, if you slow down to turn onto 76, you either move into that lane, which is not really a legal turn lane. If you don't, people don't slow down behind you, because they see that and they figure if you were going to turn, you'd move into that lane. So it's ambiguous, and I think it's a dangerous situation. So I do recommend that you give some consideration to that. My second question, or my second point, is, and again, I'm pro-signage on the buildings. My concern is, are we starting something here by putting a big, lighted, freestanding sign right very, very close to Highway 36? I mean, there seems to be almost an unwritten rule that we don't have billboards and signs on highways like that. Are we going to start something, or are we going to stand out, or will other communities raise that issue and say, why is Superior sort of breaking rank and putting a very big, highly lighted sign? I can't think of another one offhand on 36.
How about the First Bank Center?
Okay. That's true. Yeah.
It's hard to miss.
But that's not lighted, though.
It's a big sign, though.
Which one?
I think it says support CU or something like that. It's a big old billboard.
Right.
The Buffaloes?
All right,
Yeah.
okay. I'm not a purist on these things, I'm just pointing that out. So, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Everything pales in comparison to the First Bank Center.
So you know what concerts are coming up?
I can't read it fast enough.
We should make it bigger, make it bigger.
Yeah, I mean,
Hello again, Heather Craycraft with the Superior Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to share my thoughts on this as someone who works closely with Guardian Storage, whether it's them hosting an event for an after hours for business owners at their facility, or sponsoring the Kids Zone at 4th of July, or upgrading this year in a blink of an eye to sponsor the stage at Chili Fest. Everything that Guardian Storage has done, that I've seen from the moment they broke ground, has been above and beyond anything we've asked of them. And I see that again, even with the simple thing like the sign. They're going to fix the drainage, increase our landscape, and I agree with anything we can do to mark that as our entrance to our community would help not only us as a community, but also as a business entrance, to Guardian Storage. Because each person that goes there, whether they're dropping off their kids' stuff to college, they're going to stop at Costco on their way out, or they're going to make a bank deposit at Bank of the West, or they might grab, something for dinner at one of the local markets. So I think it's a good investment on our part as the community to support their larger investment in the sign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Just another
Trustee
question
Hanson.
on the, can we pull up the image of the sign again? And Mr. Cohen, did you say that you would actually take away that middle cap there and just have it all look the same? Is that what you were saying?
I don't feel comfortable because I don't know how signs are built, and I don't, if there was some kind of technical aspect about the base that I wasn't aware of, I just wouldn't want to agree to it right now, just because I don't have my sign guy here.
The other monument signs down the road, though, do they have that middle?
No, it's stone.
But it looks
But it's
like-
all the, but it looks like that, or it looks like all one?
Yeah, it looks like that, yeah.
Okay. All right.
If there's no other questions, any other comments? Trustee Skamatz?
I guess my concern is about the relative brightness. I get the strong impression it's going to be significantly brighter than the other signs. That gives me pause.
Okay.
If it is too bright, if it gets up and you say, wow, that is really a lot brighter than we thought, is it easy enough to change the wattage on the light? Or do you have to change the whole inside strip?
Yeah, you have to, well, you change the inside strip, or you can put a different
Lighting system.
cover letters up that maybe dim the light, you know what I'm saying? The letters, the Guardian letters, you use it, maybe a darker blue or something that kind of dims that light coming out of there.
But their whole purpose is to see and be, to be seen, and brighter is advantage.
Would you be open to that discussion, that when it's put up, if it's really brighter than we thought? Or once it's up, you're...
Well, again, we're going to build a very customary, commonplace sign for monument signs in any marketplace. We're not doing anything that's out of the normal. I mean, I don't know enough about changing out bulbs, or I don't think it's as simple as, unscrewing one light bulb and putting in another. I'm not even trying to be funny. I don't know.
I agree with you. I think.
Yeah. So I guess if, we had some type of agreement where we wouldn't have to pay to redo that, and the town had some oversight on that, it could be open for discussion. But, bright is a pretty subjective term, so I hate to open up.
Maybe we could meet with Kevin and his, the lighting company, and have our planning staff there, and before it's constructed, go over and agree to some light standard.
Well,
Don't we have standards?
Well, we do, yeah.
That's why I'm concerned.
So we got to be
But
really
just to be
close.
sure that it's not going to be, I think we feel with the design that's been submitted that it meets our standards. but
Okay,
It's,
So what you're saying is it won't be brighter than the other signs?
It'll
it
fall
meets
under
our
standard.
standards. Now, this, I don't know if Fred knows about the marketplace signs just off the top of his head, and the light output, we have to go
Yeah,
back
we
and
should
look.
have a photo of
but-
them.
Yeah. So, but we'll take a look at those. My guess is those are lower than what our code requires, but.
Some of those signs actually are very legible, some are not, because the types of bulbs that go in there don't hold up over time, and they haven't been replaced in some instances, and in some instances they have. the whole point of LED is so that it's consistent for a longer period of time. So that's kind of the bigger issue.
One of the
And-
points about LEDs.
What's that?
It's one of the points about LEDs.
Yeah,
Not
and
the-
it
yes.
consumes less energy, which I think everybody's in favor of.
So there was a question about if a left turn lane can be handled,
Yeah, I have to have
right turn
come up
lane, I
and
guess I should say.
See if I haven't looked at that aspect. I don't know if Alex has or not.
I think Alex Aronello, Public Works Director, I think the question is whether we need a right turn lane.
Right
here.
turn there.
There are specific criteria that the state has for warning right turn lanes, left turn lanes, and so forth. So this does not currently meet that standard, and from all projections I've seen, it won't meet it. It's not to say that one will never be built there, but I mean, we'll look at that and monitor the accident situation and so forth. Whether I have, whether one could be, it's pretty wide shoulder.
It's pretty wide. I don't know.
Yeah, we do have a pretty wide shoulder, it's probably 10 feet of shoulder, and that's probably what's happening now. People are moving over, so following vehicles can pass them. But I haven't observed whether the dangerous situation that Jim Payne was talking about. But we have no plans for the foreseeable future of putting anything in there.
What are some of the factors that go into that?
Speeds and peak hour volumes. And there's, at 35 miles an hour, I think the criteria is 50 right-turning vehicles an hour, and you may have 10 of that right now.
But if there 4 more businesses go into that parcel, including Guardian Storage at full capacity, then you theoretically could have more.
There could be more. I'm just, I think the
At
standards...
that point, then you would reevaluate.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. The other thing we could look at is maybe make, I don't know what the turning radius is. And I can work with Jim and see if that's something we could do, make this a wider turning radius, so for trucks making that turn, it'd be a little easier for it. But we don't foresee a need for a right turn lane at this point.
I guess it might make sense when you're out on the property, when you're thinking about putting a sign in, if, moving it a couple of feet one way or the other would allow for that, as opposed to ripping the sign down when we decide that to put in a turn lane might make sense.
Right. And I don't think it would be the width of a turn lane. Probably what would happen, where's the curb and gutter? Is the curb and gutter there?
Yes.
Sort of curb and gutter for a third.
There's almost enough width there on that shoulder, you could almost write the turn lane now. It doesn't concern me even from a sight distance standpoint, because our setback of the sign from this might make sense. Our sign, the base of our sign is like right here. You can see how far it is. Well, you can almost see the turn lane right here. There's a lot of technical challenges with putting in a turn lane besides the sign, some other utilities and things, but right now it doesn't really concern me. Even if you wanted to put in a turn lane, I don't think the sign being where it is would become a sight distance problem.
All right, fair enough. All right, no other questions? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And comments or action from the board?
Yeah, I agree with Ely. I think it's a no-brainer.
Okay.
I would add on to what Chamber of Commerce representative said about the support Guardian Storage has given the community. They came forth, if I recall correctly, and helped with the fire engine and the 4th of July parade. They just time and again have stepped forth in community. So I'd like to support them as a good business in the town. My concern is if further development down the road, how are we going to call out other properties and Guess we'll kick that one down the road.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how to solve that issue right at the moment. All right, so I'll entertain
And I was just going to
Yeah,
say
comment.
that I guess I'm nervous about the size and I'm nervous about the brightness, but I'll assume that on the size one, your point about leverage will hold. And on the brightness one, I'll hope that the standards aren't a whole lot brighter than what's out there.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion for anything in particular? Trustee Hansen?
I'd like to make a motion to approve Town of Superior Resolution Number R-8, Series 2014, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior approving a special use permit for a monument sign for guardian storage in case number SUP 2013-1.
Motion by Trustee Hansen, is there a second? Trustee Gurgis, yes. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, unanimous, thank you very much.
There's another.
Next.
There's
Just one more resolution for the license agreement.
Trustee Williams?
I'd like to make a motion for the Town of Superior Resolution Number R-9, Series 2014, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior approving a revocable license agreement with Guardian Storage.
Motion by Trustee Williams, second by Trustee Gurgis. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. So thank you very much. I think we all agree that you're a great corporate citizen. We love having you in town. So the questions weren't anything related to the company. It's just we want to make sure we're doing our due diligence. But thank you very much.
And can I add one more thing, especially to you, Kevin? When the very first time you came here and you introduced the concept of having another storage facility in the Town of Superior, you made certain promises. Yeah, this place is going to look great. It's not like what you normally assume a storage facility is going to be. And every time I drive past your property, I always remember those words, and you were true to your word.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. It's a beautiful, you did a great job. I like the landscaping. It looks good.
Come running in it.
I will.
I need to get more stuff. Thank you.
Can move into it.
All right, thanks. That brings us to item number 9, adoption of a resolution approving the transportation plan. Mr. Higley.
Technology glitch, my iPad is frozen on me, so I'll just say that I want to thank Alex and his staff, Lisa Ritchie, for all their hard work on the transportation plan over the past year. They've had numerous community meetings and meetings with businesses and planning commission and the board on this, and I think...
Is the Wi-Fi frozen?
Huh?
The Wi-Fi, is it frozen?
I don't know, my iPad froze, but yeah, thanks. Alex has a presentation for the board, and then any questions or comments you might have, and then we'll respond to those.
Thank you, Alex Arnello, Public Works Director. As you recall, the town went through a comprehensive planning process in 2012, and we had drafted a transportation plan at that time. And as we went through the process, the board felt we hadn't had enough public comment and input specifically on the transportation plan. So they postponed action on the plan and directed staff to go through a public input process. And these are some of the meetings that we had with the boards and commissions in terms of the transportation plan. And then in terms of public input, we had specific meetings with the business community, with Original Superior, with Rock Creek. Deborah had her several meetings devoted to that. So we had a number of opportunities for the town residents and businesses to provide input. Also, as we went through that process, then the town center, we got involved in that. There were several big transportation issues connected with the town center. So we kind of put on hold the transportation planning process until that was resolved, and then we're picking it up, and we went back through the planning commission with some of the issues that came out of the town center planning. So I want to summarize the public input process, and then I want to summarize the changes since you've last seen the plan. Community meetings, we had a well-attended meeting here in Regional Superior that focused on traffic issues within Regional Superior, the US 36 McCaslin interchange, McCaslin Marshall intersection, 76th Street and Cold Creek Drive. And then the second meeting we had down at Rock Creek was really focused on Rock Creek traffic issues, roundabouts, and the McCaslin corridor vision. We did do a survey with SurveyMonkey, and we had 54 respondents, and we did changed in the middle of the process. We wanted to get a reading about where they were responding from. The business community, we had 9 attendees then. So with the community meetings, we had a total of 48 attendees. TSC reviewed this in March and had several recommendations for the McCaslin-Marshall intersection. They wanted us to coordinate that with the DDI, which we have, provide a gateway transition from the DDI, provide a warm and cozy welcoming tone. I'm not sure if we've done that. So 76th Street parking and restriping, they wanted that to include in the plan, and I'll show that in a minute here. South Superior access, as you recall, this is more the floodplain planning issues with whether you have a 2nd Avenue bridge or a 3rd Avenue bridge. So we did include option 1 on that with the 2nd Avenue bridge. We have a write-up in the plan that we've added since that time. McCaslin High Plains, that actually got implemented this past summer. And then the McCaslin corridor vision, we took out a couple of the roundabouts we had in the vision. We have separated trails. We've removed the wide medians that we had at one point, and I'll go over what those changes were in a minute. But TSC had made these recommendations back in March. TSC also met in November with a quick review, and these are the 2 recommendations that came out of that, and I'll go over those in a minute in terms of a recommendation for a town-wide shuttle and the treatment of the trails plan. So this is the roadway plan that is in the transportation plan. We have the DDI. We have future capacity improvements at Marshall. We've included improvements on 76th Street corridor, future 4-way stop at 76th and Sagamore. All the final plan that came out of the PD submittal with the town center. Now we're showing the actual alignments that were approved. We've also shown the Campus Drive extension, and that was not shown before, but based on our discussions and the board's desire to have that, we've included that in the plan. Some of the other things, we have noise mitigation potential in this area by Christensen, and then potentially down by Indiana. The roundabouts on McCaslin would be at Main Street and at the town center and down at Indiana. We had a lot of comments on 128. We had shown a roundabout here, a lot of comments that certain residents didn't want a roundabout. So we've just said a future roundabout or other intersection improvements that really facilitate town flow for Superior residents to and from State Highway 128. 88th Street would be completed as a 3-lane arterial section, and then a possible traffic signal or roundabout at Cold Creek if that happens to pick up more traffic going to the town center. So that's an overview of all the roadway plans. Now I'll focus on a few things. The Marshall-McCaslin intersection, we added a paragraph in the transportation plan, I believe it was page page 23 has a paragraph describing the improvements that we're planning here, first to have a third northbound through lane, to double left turn lanes on both the northbound and southbound approaches, and eventually the westbound approach, and then the triple left turn lane from Marshall heading north on McCaslin. So these were the ultimate improvements. We had, at one time, we had submitted an application for CDOT funding for these improvements that didn't get funded. So this is still in the plan, but I just wanted to show you what our current thinking is, because we had a lot of discussion at the Planning Commission about what do we do now. And what's happening is that the DDI will be removing, and this will come out in the next month, they'll be removing that median from Marshall up to the interchange. So that all landscape median comes out. And they need to do that because they're going to have a lot of lane shifts to put in the pedestrian overpass and so forth. So that median comes out, so instead of putting it back in, we'll put in a narrow median to set this up for a double left turn lane. And then the other thing we'll be doing is moving this curb and gutter back and moving the traffic signal pole on that corner back so we can provide the bike lane, so we have a bike lane, continuous bike lane on the McCaslin all the way through the DDI. So and then by doing that, that'll set up the triple left, and what we're planning on the triple left is to make this a through left situation, so this becomes a split phase. So this approach moves all together, all left turn lanes and the through goes together, and then for the through movement going the opposite direction, you would have a separate phase doing this. Similar to what you had at Dillon and McCaslin a while back, where the left turns didn't go simultaneously, they're almost separate phase. So this would be occurring this coming year. Just wanted to brief you on what we plan on doing in conjunction with the DDI to try to get that left turn lane. So that kind of puts off the issue of where we put that third left turn lane. So we're not going to take out the median, we're not going to put that slip lane in right now, but we will get a triple left turn lane, but it'll be a split phase.
The bike lane that you would put in there, doesn't, on the diverging diamond, isn't the bike lane going to be in the center? Mm-hmm. So if you're done right there, how does it?
It crosses over with the traffic.
With the traffic, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So it crosses over with the through traffic and then ends up on the median. So we wanted to set that up so we have a continuous through lane in it. But by moving this a little bit, we'll have enough room to get the bike lane here as well. So that's occurring. We do have some issues about, do we put this double left turn lane in now? How do we strike that out and so forth? So we're still under design. TSC will see this in a couple of weeks.
And just a dumb question, what's the value of the median? What's the value of that median? You're going to put in a narrower one. Why is it good to have a median there? I hate to ask a dumb question.
To set up for a future double left turn lane.
Trustee Skumat said the main purpose the meeting went in years ago was we had a lot of people trying to turn left out of Superior Plaza Way, and we had a number of accidents because of that, and it was put in to prevent the left turn.
I see. Thanks.
Yeah.
And by the way, we mentioned that the construction, this is, Superior Plaza Way here is going to be closed for several months because of the construction. They'll be doing the work on these lanes. So this will be closed, and that's why we're meeting with the business community, because we're taking one of their accesses away.
Still have the access.
Yeah, they'll still have access this way, but they won't be able to get in and out.
You can't get in and out there.
So that's it. Okay, on the McCaslin, the rest of the corridor from the Main Street roundabout down to 128, what we'd like to do is kind of bracket this with two roundabouts that kind of define the limits of a slower speed corridor. So we have a roundabout at the town center, roundabout at Indiana. There's a lot of support for the roundabout at Indiana for people that really want to slow traffic down as you're coming through the residential portion of McCaslin. We did have wide medians to try to slow traffic down. That concept didn't have a whole lot of support as we went through the process, so we've taken that out. But we do want to look at potential noise mitigation in the areas where houses are fairly close to the corridor. And that'll, we'll probably have a noise study for those particular areas at some point in the future to see if there's anything we can do to mitigate the noise coming from McCaslin.
How many lanes are you contemplating on the roundabouts on Indiana and the other the roundabouts by the town center?
Okay. This one would probably be a single lane roundabout, like we have at Colton.
I don't like that.
Yes. We're not going to have the amount of turning movements here that we have at the other one.
I know, but it's still, when you're going particularly north, and a lot of traffic's going south, you never know if they're going straight through or turning left. And that really troubles me, because they're not required to signal their left turn, and you just kind of, particularly Colton right now, and I see no reason to compound the problem in Indiana by having that guessing game of whether you can go forward or not.
For the northbound or southbound?
Well, it's primarily when you're going north, you don't know if people going south are going to be turning into Rock Creek or going straight.
Okay, so you're saying having a left turn and kind of a through lane, so if in
Yeah.
the inside lane, you would be, okay, we can
Yeah,
look
that's
at that.
what, and I wish we had that at Colton. You never know at Colton whether those people are going straight or turning.
Right, and the trade-off we had at Colton is that we would try to minimize the distance for pedestrians. Probably don't have that problem here, so it may be a little bit easier to do that.
So the heartburn I'm having is on the noise barriers, and the reason I have it is because I have that vision that came out in one of the elections a few years ago where there were basically kind of walls and multiple lanes on McCaslin, trying to make it a very high-speed, high-access kind of road. Is this a step in that direction?
It would probably be more in the form of berms than walls, especially in this area here. I think we have potential for berming. There's a lot of landscaping out there now. Down here, I have my doubts whether things can be done. It's just that some of the houses are pretty high. I think the houses that are lower, there's some potential for berming that may help, but a lot of the houses are fairly high, and it's going to be pretty hard to do it. And we'll look at various options for the noise measures. One thing with a wall is that the noise tends to bounce off and go the other way. So instead of going straight up to the residence, it may bounce and go west. But again, I'm not a noise expert, but those are some of the things we'll look at.
And when you say evaluate this, the 128 intersection to improve traffic flow, does that mean that your goal is to have more traffic come down McCaslin more easily, or is it something about the specific intersection you're talking about and its awkward turn?
Well, there's a hard turn here. My feeling right now is the volumes are, left and right turning. There aren't a whole...
The what?
The turning movements, there are more traffic making left and right turn here than traffic going through that intersection. But it's a state highway, so they're prioritizing the movements for the through movements. And so our traffic kind of gets penalized for the traffic from Superior making that left. But there's also through traffic that makes that movement as well. So it could be facilitating, the traffic that wants to go through Superior as well. But what I was thinking about there is more facilitating the turn movements over prioritizing those over the through movements.
Thanks.
And the arguments for and against the roundabout on 128 are what, from your perspective?
People don't like roundabouts. I mean, there's some of those. I know we had one resident.
No, Michelle's not here today, no.
Isn't the slope maybe one of the things?
There is, but, I mean, you have to, I think that could be worked around for a roundabout. I guess
What's the argument in favor of a roundabout in that particular intersection?
Is there what?
What's the argument in favor of a roundabout over there?
Well, because the left turners would, you wouldn't have to wait every time you got to that light for the light to turn.
I see.
I mean, the roundabout kind of prioritize all the movements at the same weight. They're all kind of have equal weight to getting into the intersection. Whereas right now, it's more, the way it's set up now, the through movements gets the priority.
If you're going straight and not turning on McCaslin, though, you would have to slow down quite a bit, right? Because otherwise, right now, it's like you could speed.
If you get the green light, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's quite a hill there that you don't want to have to stop if you don't need to, going up McCaslin to 128. If you can get out of there without having to, if you get a line of cars and there's snow and ice on the road, it can get kind of hairy getting out of there.
But I would think with a roundabout, you're reducing the number of
I would
queues.
think you would do that.
You can't put a diverging diamond there?
I have some history with commuting to Rocky Flats, and way back, there used to be a stop sign there on top. And most of the time, that was never an issue unless you had bad weather and you happened to be at rush hour and a lot of cars going and having to stop on the hill and then go. They put the stoplight in, I don't know whether, I think the state put the stoplight in.
Yeah.
It's never needed. Still isn't needed,
Right.
really.
Yeah, it's just stopping those left turners, yeah.
And and there's really nothing we can do to make it harder for the traffic coming from the east that wants to turn right into McCaslin. There's really nothing we can do. The right turn is easy for them to do.
Right, that's pretty.
Even if there's a stoplight, they stop and go. And so it's kind of a frustrating, I'm not sure there's much we can do to improve our situation.
So the only change, before we had a roundabout, and now we're going to add a comment, we'll have potentially some improvements, but we'll look at a roundabout or other potential improvements.
What's the speed limit on 128 there?
It's 55.
And you can put a roundabout?
That's what I was saying. That would slow it down quite a bit if you're going through.
Yeah, we would slow it down.
It'll slow down through traffic.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, the turning traffic has to slow down.
Anyway.
It's a sharp enough turn that you have to slow down.
Is this the end of your presentation?
No.
Oh, it's not, okay, because I have,
I was hoping that we
Yeah.
could
it's going to run through
plow
all,
ahead here.
at the end, I was going to run through all my
Yeah,
comments.
Please.
Okay, 76th Street, we had a lot of discussion with the Regional Superior about this. North and south of Sagamore, north of Sagamore, in this area here, this is an old, well, there's Guardian Storage under construction, that's why. So in this area, we've improved in front of Guardian Storage, cross-section that's, 36 feet, 34 feet wide, with curb and gutter. So in the long term, we want to take those improvements, same improvements, and carry them up to 76th, as well as up to Sagamore. In front of Sagamore, all the way down to Coal Creek, we have a pretty wide section was set up in 4 lanes, which we don't need anymore. So what we're proposing is up here, have the 36-foot wide section going up to 76th. In this section area along Sagamore, put a raised median, through lane in each direction, and then bike lanes. And then south of Sagamore, add parking along Fountains Park, and then have the same raised median, through lane, and bike lanes. So it's just a plan for 76th Street to take advantage of the pavement we have, add some parking, add some bike lanes. The replacement of the bridge at 2nd Avenue, remember the discussions we had about the access alternatives, and so we added this section in the transportation plan, which basically said we'll replace the bridge, we'll add eventually a leg onto the roundabout here and provide access to Rogers and potentially to South Superior as the access alternatives. Hopefully we can maybe do that or get the emergency access down here soon.
How far away time-wise, do you think we are from having an emergency exit on the south end?
Yeah, so I've had, I have discussions with the property to the south, the Shan property, which might have some conclusion next month, too. And then also to the new property owner of the Rogers, formerly the Rogers property, we've also had, which is RC Superior, the town center developer. We've had discussions with them about potentially emergency access from 2nd Avenue to McCaslin, right where the roundabout intersection would occur. So both of those are ongoing.
Sooner rather than later,
Yes, yeah.
obviously, that's...
Yeah, on top of that, Alex is working with urban drainage on improvements to 2nd Avenue Bridge.
Okay.
Okay, on the town center, we included the revised street network from the town center. We included the connection to Discovery Parkway, and an option for that you'll be seeing at the concept plan for the Discovery Park, the Discovery Office Park next month, 27th. So you'll see how that's going to be working out. And a potential Campus Drive connection is also shown in on page 26. There's a write-up about Campus Drive, why we want to connect it. So that's the plan, this roadway plan, and it's pretty similar to what you've seen before with those changes that I've noted. The other thing that we added was an alternative modes section. We really didn't have a write-up about what we're going to do on alternative modes. We did have some policies on that. So we added a whole section that discusses alternative modes and provides some direction. And that's found on page 31. So we have enhanced an additional bus service, and that deals with the bus stop shelters and stuff that we have an ongoing program working with RTD to reinstitute the call and ride. That's been on our list for a number of years. An airport shuttle, enhance the shuttle, the express service to DIA, and then work with the RTD and Boulder County and City of Louisville to get service along 88th eventually. So that's the type of things you're talking about with additional bus service. The townwide shuttle, and this came Deborah's suggestion that we have a specific section dealing with a townwide shuttle, and the verbiage we added was undertake a feasibility study examining the implementation of a townwide shuttle. The shuttle may operate independently of RTD and should circulate through major residential areas and among major developments and transit stops, including the Superior Marketplace, Superior Town Center, Rock Creek Village, and McCaslin Park and Ride, and the Flatiron Park and Ride. So we added that, and that's something that we could undertake in the coming years to actually do that study. Electric vehicle support is another item we added. And then the first and final mile study, this really focuses around the BRT station and some of the things we could do around that station to make it, to look at the final mile for people that, instead of driving their car, getting to their home or employment place. And that could involve a bus and bike cage security area, potentially a B-cycle station, maybe at the BRT station, and maybe at the town center or at the marketplace. So looking at this down the road, looking at electric vehicle stations at the charging stations at the park, at the BRT station. And so that all came out of a study that was done for the whole corridor along 36, and so we're taking their recommendations and including some of those in the plan. It also includes a final mile eco-pass evaluation, so that would be something that would do for the whole entire corridor. And lastly is the trails plan, and this will get updated, this is annually updated, but one thing we did include was the latest alignment for the US 36 bikeway coming through the area, and then the bike lanes that would be on Marshall and then Coal Creek Drive extended. So those were included because of what we had done with the town center. So with that, the Planning Commission adopted this in December, so we're here tonight. We don't necessarily have to adopt things tonight, but this is a step, and we're welcome your comments.
Trustee Williams?
So I'm very familiar with this, and I have just quite a few, actually. Not just a few. They're quick. With the McCaslin corridor vision, I had a number of things I wanted to mention on there. Well, you're saying berming, but the noise mitigation for, can you actually show that, the roadway map? You're almost there. That's fine, too. These potential noise mitigation areas, I'm in complete agreement with Lisa. That was one of the things that was on my list. I want to disclose that I live behind one of those, but my actual reason for my concern is when you drive through communities that have a berm that is a wall, it sends a completely different message about that community than it is a berm that is a grassy knoll or whatever you want to call it. Something more natural.
Grassy knoll.
Yeah.
Has bad history.
Maybe. But, so my point being is, what are we trying to say about our community when we come up with some kind of noise mitigation? So I want to make sure that when we do that study and when we look at that, and I don't know how far down the road, whether we'll be here or not, that we consider visually how that impacts the neighborhood and what that says about our community.
And not to mention that walls impact their views. And, even just this weekend skiing, it was super windy. And every time you hit trees, it was totally not windy. And I think that they've got to, if they block wind, they've got to block sound pretty well, too.
Yeah.
At least you get peekaboo views or something. A wall just really concerns me.
And it lends itself to graffiti and...
Doesn't say wall, doesn't say wall.
I know, we're just giving you a heads up.
No, I know, I just wanted to throw that in there. But I also would like to point out that when we moved into our property, we put up 17 trees, all lining our back fence to McCaslin, and we don't have the noise that the neighbors have when we go to their homes and sit in the backyard.
It's a different experience.
It's a completely different experience. And so the natural state makes a huge difference if you're putting in trees and berming, like you mentioned. So I just want to make sure that we are, looking towards that as a natural noise mitigation. And I get that you're doing that. Just want to just kind of, maybe that might be a point to put in here, just to, you don't know in 10 years from now who might be on the board, who might be in the staff, and, it could be a whole different ballgame.
If you leave it ambiguous, it could be interpreted as a wall.
It's a
Well, we can certainly add something that more natural,
Not a wall.
other than walls, more berming, vegetation. We
Yeah,
can
it's
add-
pretty
And I get that's where you're going. I just don't know
That's right.
Down the road with it.
right down the road if it's ambiguous, exactly. So that's a big concern for me. Let's see here.
Shows me the Traffic and Safety Committee is unanimous on this, so I think the board is too. I can't imagine anybody on the board saying put more walls up, so, yeah.
Well, you never know. I mean, if you
Well, the
leave it
current
open,
board. Yeah.
Yeah, leave it open to interpretation.
Each board might be a bunch of bricklayers.
There you go. And then, as far as McCaslin goes, there isn't anything talking about a pedestrian or bike experience on McCaslin, and I know we use it as biking, maybe we don't as pedestrian at this point, but as we add trails on the east side, I think someday we'll be adding trails on the west side when we finally get somewhere with Boulder County on that property over there. So that might be something to include as a vision, because I mean, I see this all, the entire plan, and actually the word plan makes me think that it's set in stone, and the word vision makes me think that it's all, you know, up for discussion when the time comes. But, I mean, that's just my thoughts on that.
Deb, do you mean bike path along McCaslin?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would go a step further and make it runnable too, because you run up McCaslin now, it's kind of
Pedestrian.
scary.
Yeah, I agree. Any two-legged, four-legged creature?
Because, you know, we have, in the trails plan, I kind of left that off the roadway plan, but trails plan, we certainly have
Yeah.
the pedestrian corridors along there.
That's on the east side, though.
And those attached, or are they separate?
No,
Just be clear.
they're detached.
Thank you.
So then as I move through here, there was a few little errors, and when I come to them, I'll point them out. Let's see here. So, okay, then we go to policy 8.1B, RTD services and facilities. I think it's important to note that we should reevaluate the 228 route. I know that's RTD, but it is through our town, and it currently only services a third of our town. And in the future, it could be up for expansion. You know, the southern portion of Superior or through another portion of Superior, whether it be the town center, whatever. But I think that we should, as a goal or as a policy, work with RTD on our current bus system that we have, which is the 228. And I know we call out the call and ride, which is something we're still trying to reinstitute. But I think we should expand it to other RTD service.
These are in the comp plan.
Oh, well, I mean, these are policies that are in the transportation plan.
They're quoting the policies from that are in the comp plan, I think.
Each one of these policies in here?
Is that right, Matt?
Transportation goal, the following transportation goals and policies are contained in the Town of Superior Comprehensive Plan.
They're both in the comp plan and in this plan. And
Are they written differently in this plan?
No,
They're 100% taken straight out?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
well,
what we could do
Whatever.
is
That's
add
fine.
on page 31, under additional bus service. We talk about 88th Street, but we could add southern part of Superior.
right,
And mention the 228 route
Right.
there, and extensions of the 228.
yeah. Somehow, you know, incorporate that into the plan, that the 228 is up for negotiation as to where it actually routes through our town. That's bottom line. And I'm on page 5, and under policy 8.1F, integrated vehicle and pedestrian bicycle corridors, I think we should eliminate new development, new. Require, new, N-E-W, where are you? Require development to integrate new vehicular and pedestrian bicycle corridors. In other words, just any development. It could be redevelopment for, 100 years from now, or 50 years from now, or 20 years from now. Just require development. But I don't know if we can change this, so moving on.
Yeah, I'd rather not change the golden policy.
Okay, that's fine. Moving on. All right, so I'm going to go past all of these then.
Deborah, before you go on for some, because I had some questions about these policies as well. Just on 81H, Northwest Corridor, does that paragraph there kind of imply that we support the Jefferson Parkway? Does anyone else get that?
What it, to me, I'm reading is, and we've always tended to be involved in what was going on.
Well, we eliminated Jefferson Parkway for a reason, because, it's been changed many times and revisioned many times and named many different things.
Right.
And so we put it as Northwest Corridor, because that's actually in the EIS, Northwest Corridor EIS. It refers to the area. So I'm kind of wondering if we should just take the Jefferson Parkway out.
The param.
Correct.
I thought we asked for that, but apparently it's in the comp plan. That's.
We had a long discussion about this and the comp plan. I think this is how you had actually rewritten it. We had it written a different way before, and we had a long discussion about this, and this is how it came out of your discussions.
That we took the Jefferson Parkway out? I mean, that's what I recall.
I mean, we could take that out. I mean,
yeah. I think we should, because I wouldn't be surprised if it's called another name.
I hope it's called another name, something that doesn't include the Jefferson Parkway.
We don't know really what Northwest Corridor, I mean, it can be anything. It could be 93 that we're talking about here, that we actively participate in. So that's my thoughts.
I agree with you. I mean, that was always intended, that we are involved in making sure that
So, I mean, if we are, scrutinizing all these policies, I mean, there is a couple others that call out specific, instead of being broad, like the policy 8.1J, traditional neighborhood design, street standard / complete streets. We're just talking about original Superior and the town center. But then when we go down to policy 8.10, neighborhood connections, we discuss the town center and 88th Street and South Coal Creek Drive, whereas each one of these is trying to speak to a larger, broader concept, but then suddenly there's specific mentions. So I'm just wondering, the reason why I'm calling it out is, are we trying to be extremely specific in each one of these, or are we trying to be broad enough that it could apply to any part of the town?
The 8.1.0.
Neighborhood connections?
That was specific for Coal Creek Drive.
So either we change the name of neighborhood connections and make it specific to what it's referring to, or we take out, ensure neighborhood connections between specific wording here. In other words, either the heading applies to what you're saying. You get my direct heading.
I see, yeah. The heading we certainly can advise.
Yeah, when I see neighborhood connections and then we talk about that, then I get confused as to why we're only talking about the town center.
Okay.
Deb, on O there, shouldn't that actually read, ensure neighborhood connections are made between the town center? To me, that reads like an incomplete sentence. Ensure neighborhood connections are made between the town center and South 88th Street.
I think it can go either way, but it didn't bother me, but, I mean, I understand what you're saying.
What's that?
Or remove the word "that," respond, take the word "that" out, and that might accomplish this.
I would put ensure that neighborhood connections between the town center and South 88th Street and Cold Creek Drive respond to projected traffic counts. I guess that implies that connections will be made, but...
Or not if there are no traffic counts.
Right, that's right.
And so the heading, neighborhood connections, will specifically
Yeah, we'll
apply to
we'll
what we're
change the
talking
heading.
about, okay, which is the same
I
thing.
get your point, yeah, the headings don't match.
Yep. And then the policy 8.1J, traditional neighborhoods design, street standard, complete streets, it obviously is not talking about,
Doesn't really pertain to it.
yeah, it's obviously talking about original Superior and the town center. And then a policy 8.1P is the same thing. I'm wondering why we weren't talking about all subdivisions, so the heading is not consistent with what the bylines underneath this. 8.1P, vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian access, I would think that we would be talking about all subdivisions, but here we're not.
I'll come up with better...
Okay, that's fine. If anyone wants to jump in, go ahead as I'm looking for the next one.
I have one. Can you go to the map that shows all the arterial roads and their definition? Because the map shows Colton, if you read the legend, that Colton is a major arterial, but it's actually it's not, correct? Doesn't that say it's a major arterial? But in the text, it's a minor arterial. And that would be page 25 of the document.
Good catch.
Can I do one more, Deb?
Sure.
Page
Yeah,
two.
it should be minor arterial.
Okay.
Good catch.
Page 251, can we change that? It looks like it's an accident where the interlocking loop describes it and there's an image there. Oh, the copy is over the image in the sky and it just doesn't look right.
What page is this?
Page 24 or 251 of the packet.
That's just due to the red line. When the red line, the deleted text comes out.
So that'll
the
all line
final
up
version,
and it'll look good?
It'll line back
Okay,
again.
okay.
On page 20, which is page 248, there's a misspelling at the top. The last line is associated with each functional classification. So functional is spelled wrong. Do you see that? Okay, I already talked about the noise mitigation. Anyone else want to jump in while I'm looking for something else?
Just questions about the classification of McCaslin being 2 lanes and the projected traffic flows. I know we've had this discussion other times, but it seems like we're really getting close to capacity at 2035. And is it always going to be the intention that it stays a 2-lane road? I'm not suggesting that we make it a 4-lane road, but is there a bigger discussion we should be having here about?
Well, it's been a long-term policy of the board to keep McCaslin at 2 lanes. And so the thinking is that we want a ceiling on it. And if it gets if the volumes become congestion, that's fine, people go elsewhere.
And it is at capacity because it's at capacity for 2 lanes, right?
Well,
Not quite, but-
16,000 for a major arterial, 2 lanes. But in 2035, we're projecting 13,700.
Yeah.
So we're below the capacity, but still, I can't imagine what that's going to be like getting out on McCaslin from Christensen. Or, well, Indiana, I guess we might have a traffic circle there or something. But it just, to me, it's just mind-boggling how we're going to manage that. So, long-term solution, I mean, what could it be?
Well, the problems we have, what, we can improve the intersections, about what we can do. The problem we have on McCaslin is at the ridge, doing anything around the ridge and that curve will be very expensive because of the potential slope stability problems. And then as you go up from Indiana, the area south of Indiana will be, again, very expensive. So there could be improvements between some of the other areas, but the board has looked at those and basically said they don't want to even consider it.
So we're just going to have to suck up more than a 50% increase in traffic on that? That's, well, I guess it's a future board's problem.
The
And it's one that's been discussed over the years.
Absolutely.
But I don't think it's one that we can say, well, it's been discussed, so let's just...
No, I agree. You always continue to look at the situations and make decisions based on current situations.
So based on those increases, what kind of road maintenance costs are we going to incur? Because that's going to go up because of the use of the roads. So...
I guess the thinking is always if you build it, they will come.
Yep.
So your 13,000 will not be the accurate number. It'll be even bigger.
Yeah, you put the town center, I mean, I get the fact that we want people to come to the town center, and there's going to be people coming from Candelas, and we want to encourage them to come down here, but I don't know, that's going to be a tough time for people to exit and enter in that area. Traffic and safety.
And actually, I think that it's always something that can be revisited when it reaches capacity. But at the time being, I mean, that's how we've discussed it, that's how the vision is. You know, in 10, 20 years from now, when the town center is built out and this is at capacity, it'll be a different ballgame.
Yeah, that's a problem now, but, so, okay. It's on the record.
So,
I had one
Sorry.
question just before. Yeah. It has to do with Christensen and whether or not nothing happened there in terms of being able to access that street onto McCaslin. And is it felt that the striping there is adequate for people to get across, or do you think that something actually is going to have to happen there?
I didn't get the...
Is that a question or a statement?
No, it's a question, whether or not you think something needs to happen there.
As far as like a traffic signal or?
Roundabout traffic signal, something else. I mean, every other intersection was addressed, that's the only one that really wasn't.
Coming out and going right towards Town Hall is not a problem.
No, it's the left.
It's the left-hand turn.
It's the left-hand going out that at certain hours, and then turning in at the end of the day is just really hard. I can't imagine if I had to commute the other way, turn left.
I suspect you'd go to Colton to avoid that.
I mean, that's why we haven't really done Christensen, because you have a way to get out.
And was that the reason, is that there's another way to get out?
Yeah, there's another way to get out. I mean, that's why we put the traffic signal here, because you don't really have a way to go. Most of the traffic wants to go north, and they don't have a way to get out. And that's why we decided to put it here. These guys, most of the traffic is going north. There's a few left turners.
My guess is that down the road, something's going to have to happen there, but I guess we don't have
And
to
if
have that
this
on the
becomes a
plan.
problem, we may make it a three-quarter and disallow the left turns, and people will have to find another way out.
Okay.
And then down in Indiana, you have the same thing here. To go left, there aren't really ways of getting out, so we wanted to put something in Indiana.
That makes perfect sense at Indiana.
Okay, so on page 26, which is 254 of the packet, I'm looking at 76th Street, and the Traffic and Safety Committee has seen this and really like how you've designed the streetscape. There's one thing I'm concerned about and wondering about. So truck traffic would be my concern. Should we take this streetscape from where we're actually going to be implementing it by the park? If we take it towards the north where Target and Costco will be, will it be a problem for the trucks to be able to get in and unload at Target?
Okay, so I haven't really gone that far. That's a good,
Sorry.
a good observation. So we have a raised median, and do we need breaks in the median for for the trucks to get in and out of it?
I'm just wondering if it's going to shoot us in the foot. I know we don't want trucks there, but then where are they going to go and how are they going to unload?
Yeah, because Target's delivery is in the back.
Yeah, it is. And I'm wondering if that section of the road won't be able to do that type of streetscape.
I'll go back and show where the breaks in the median need to occur so trucks can get in and out of here. I don't think we need turn lanes, but at least we need breaks in the median so they can make the lefts in, or if they need to swing wide.
Right.
So be able to facilitate their access. I know there was some discussion about getting rid of trucks on 76th Street and on Sycamore, but I think our staff's position, the marketplace, is very important to our economic development. We don't want to make it so difficult they can't get in and out of that.
Right, and it makes sense that we don't really want them going south into, Ridgetown and,
Coal Creek.
Coal Creek Drive. That makes sense, and that's why I like this. But my only concern would be deterring what Target and Costco need is the unloading in the back. Okay. Anybody else want to jump in as I'm moving to the next?
Keep moving.
Keep moving. Okay, then on page 31, this is just something I was just going to throw out, and maybe it doesn't have to be in here, but part of this, my vision on this townwide shuttle was tying it into businesses as they would sponsor it with, promos and coupons so that they could be part of how it's instituted or how it is maintained or, able to be offered either for nothing or cheap. But, you ride the town shuttle and you go to this business and they offer you, because you use the shuttle instead of having a car, you now have the opportunity to have some sort of coupon or 2-for-1 or whatever it is, but some sort of business tie-in or sponsorship.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be in here, but it was a thought on my radar. Let's see, this doesn't mention using toll roads, so the other one should not as well. Okay. Bear with me here. I wrote this, I don't know why I wrote it, but so somehow we talk about the toll road and there's, sorry. Oh, I know now. Okay. The express bus service that we would like to have happen with RTD from McCaslin Park and Ride to DIA. At one point, we mentioned that we would use the toll road. And
I think it was in the policy, goals and policies.
Okay.
It was written that way.
Right, and another time, we don't mention that.
And I didn't mention it there because I didn't think it made sense, so
I agree. And actually, I don't know if we would use the toll road, and I don't even know if that's even a possibility, but...
It would be more of an express if they did.
It would, correct, but maybe express means it doesn't stop a million times. I don't know, but I just was, the little inconsistency there. The first and final mile, just wanted to give you kudos on including that in here. It's really great to see that part of the transportation plan. And I'm done.
Any other?
Thank you.
Other
Sorry.
questions from anybody?
I had, and I can't find it now, and, you know, we've been, somewhere in here, there's discussion of using electric, not the vehicles that use the charging stations like yours, but electric, neighborhood electric vehicles, and I think that's actually in the comp plan, but what I'm trying to understand is what is contemplated here. I can't envision that being something we'd want to encourage on multi-use trails that already have excitement with bicycles and...
Those are the NEVs I think he's talking about.
Yeah, our code currently allows not like golf carts on streets, but segways and electric bikes, thank you. So there's, I guess, two ways, you know, if that's something the board can consider, we could look at a code change, or we could put some language in.
Well, I just want to know where we're going, because we discussed this, I mean, a couple of years ago, of actually using them on the roadways and didn't support it because of safety concerns.
All right.
I have similar safety concerns on the multi-use paths unless we have a way of distinguishing who's using what, or we have dirt for runners and bikes and something else, and baby carriages, or, you know, it's kind of exciting now when you have bikes and baby carriages and dogs.
Right, yeah. I guess my thought is you'd want to keep them on the roadway and off the pathways.
Yeah,
and you'd want to keep them on the roadways that are residential streets and try to keep them off
the main
McCaslin and Rockland
Now, I could see
Parkway.
possibly there'd be a way of getting them into town center through the back way.
We talked about that, having that road where it comes down, where you take golf carts from Rock Creek. So is that still a possibility?
Well, I just wanted to know where we were going with this, and I'm not suggesting any adjustments to what we've said here, but...
Well, I think we had an analysis in some of the earlier drafts of where they would go, but we didn't really get a lot of support for that, and there were some issues, so we took that whole section out, so it's not in there, so it's kind of silent on it right now. But those issues will come back, like electric bikes that's being debated in Boulder right now. So a lot of those issues will come back.
I think it's healthy to pedal. Deb, don't you agree? They should be pedaling and not riding.
But there was an article on Camera this last week about electric bikes. There's an issue with electric bikes being on the trails. There's people that don't want that, so.
Right, and anything that confuses the trails anymore is something that needs to be worked through.
Other questions? Public comment regarding this? Too public.
We wore them out.
All right. Do it. Yeah. That sounds good. Read it.
Read it?
Read it.
Read what?
The resolution.
Are we, I mean...
Do we have down what we're doing, or?
Well, what we could do is we could make all these changes. This is what we did with the planning commission. We went back and made all these changes, circulated another draft.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then you guys can have it and be comfortable, and there's no rush in terms of adopting it, so.
That's fine.
Are we having a transportation and safety committee meeting soon?
We would like to have one in the next 2 weeks to a month.
Perfect.
So,
Can we- I mean, we're still- tossing.
So we'll take all these comments back and then make some revisions. You make the revisions, and then when you're comfortable with it, we can get it.
How about on the 27th, or is that 27th?
Yeah, 27th to be fine. If we have the work session, if you could do it 5 or 4 o'clock or 5 on the 27th.
For your Transportation Safety Committee?
Yeah.
And we have several other issues.
I won't be here, so yeah, it sounds great.
Don't need
That's good with that. All right.
Perfect,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. That's
Okay. That brings us to 10, executive session to consider personnel matters pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, for the town manager evaluation. So motion to go into executive session. Trustee Hanson, second by trustee Sorelli, all in favor? Unanimous, we're in executive session, thank you.
Well, not yet.